All right, everybody, welcome on into the Central Committee Stream with your host, Mike from PA. We are live once again. How is everybody doing today? It is the first Monday after daylight savings time. We have sprung forward, which means it's really 6:30. You're used to it being 6:30 right now, so if you're awake, probably because of some sort of fucking alarm or something, I stayed the same so you could start earlier for me. So true. It should be illegal to take sleep away from people. I think we should just stay on one time. You know, I honestly think the Chinese are onto something. Okay, one time for everybody. It's just an arbitrary number. You know, like just have a local community figure it out. You know, I'm kidding. Maybe it makes sense to adjust the time. I don't know. Wasn't it for farmer? I don't give a shit. Daylight savings time is a way to steal an hour of pay from the night shift. No, the night shift gets an extra hour. And if you are in a job and they've tried not to pay you for daylight savings time, that's ridiculous and they owe you. Kat Abu Ghazaleh just wanted to start the week right. Okay, bro, you don't get to say that person's name in my chat. I saw speaking of Kat, I saw a tweet. Apparently she spent a lot of money on digital advertising, which is another way of saying she's using this campaign to promote herself as a content creator. Yeah. I mean, I think that is the new innovation, right? That's the new innovation. Run for office and then clout off of it, platform off of it. I mean, like, you know, she's not the first person to do it. Here's the Plattner article to react to. Grant Plattner says Democratic leaders threatened to rip my life apart before he launched his Senate campaign. Oh, I'm sure that's true. All right, so what are we talking about today? Will Trump use nuclear weapons is a question that more and more people are asking because the United States of America is being chased out of all of its bases in the Middle East. One of the reasons why casualties is low while destruction reigns on major American installations is because a lot of Americans have been withdrawn from the Middle East. So a lot of our infrastructure is being hit while more and more Americans have been withdrawn from the region. And I saw a tweet yesterday, and it's from one of the most pro-American emirs, business leaders in the United Arab Emirates. And I gotta say, chat, things are not looking good for the American empire. Did you see someone tried to bomb Zoran's house? I think I saw there was a right-wing counter protest, right? Like a Nazi protest. If you didn't have this one on the docket. Oh, okay, beautiful. We can watch this. And the reason why I do feel like nuclear weapons are on the table, and I've never felt like people have always said, hey, Donald Trump is exactly the type of guy to use a nuke. And I feel like it's on the table. I really do feel like it's on the table because, like, I made a tweet earlier this weekend, which kind of crystallized my thoughts, which is the United States lost in Afghanistan. We lost in Iraq. We got chased out of the Red Sea by the Houthis. What makes you think that we could fight Iran? The IRGC makes the Taliban look like a kindergarten class. You know, like the Persian people are a proud nation of 90 million people. Okay. This is not one of the poorest countries in the world like Afghanistan was. This is a proud country who has access to a lot of powerful allies. Like this is a little bit different. Okay. And so they're not going to defeat the government from bombing it. Like that's just never happened. Majority Report had a scholar on from the University of Chicago who on his Substack went through 40 different aerial campaigns and they have never worked for regime change. 40 different bombing campaigns and not one time did it cause regime change. I understand things are dire, but I don't get Hasan calling the Chinese pussies and crazy shit like they're abandoning an ally. Boy needs to calm down. I mean, here's the reality. Most of us have a mirror brain, which is we believe that powerful countries should be walking around exercising their will on the world because that's what Americans do. The Chinese are socialists. They believe in human dignity. So they don't go around bigfooting themselves and inserting themselves in every situation and trying to dominate and cause wars. You know what I mean? Like it's not in their nature to do that. However, they're not naive. They understand what's going on here. They understand the capitalist class is out of control. They understand that that imperialism is the highest form of capitalism. Right? The United States is doing these wars expressly for the purpose of stealing oil and gold. It's straightforward. We are doing this to take the oil. 31% of the world's oil is in Iran and Venezuela combined. The United States of America is trying to steal their oil. It's not complicated. Okay? It's not complicated. So what are the Chinese doing? Well, the Chinese are doing everything they can to make their country carbon neutral. Make their country need as little carbon as possible. Make themselves completely energy independent. That's what they're doing. Now, at this point, they aren't there yet, but they are focusing and building. They have a dual mandate. Raise the standard of living, the quality of life. And thank you, everybody, for all the subscriptions. We got a level 4 hype train. Appreciate you. Thanks for starting the week off right. But they, like everyone else, is still vulnerable towards the loss of these resources. Subs are on sale. I just subbed for 6 months with 15% discount. Nice. He was saying China should turn Iran into Ukraine for the US instead of a bunch of weapons and intel. I mean, how do you know they're not planning on doing that? France is going to do escort missions in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran had officially declared the closure of the Strait of Hormuz on March 2nd, 2026, following the start of combined U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran on February 28th, 2026. I mean, if I were the Iranians, I would have put as many mines in there as possible if it were me. I would physically seal the strait if it were me. Wouldn't a Chinese foreign policy more like the Soviet Union be preferable? Are you in? I mean.
目前冲突已经蔓延到整个的中东地区，想请问中方如何看待当前的伊朗局势？对于解决伊朗问题有什么主张？谢谢。
Phoenix TV. The US and Israel have again launched military strikes on Iran, and the conflict is spreading to the entire Middle East region. What is China's view on the Iran situation, and what solution does China propose?
The Chinese don't have many good force projection options. I mean, I think that's kind of the problem. See, the reason why the United States is able to do these wars all over the world is because we have 800 bases all over the world. That's the reason why we are trying to, fight a war over Taiwan in the first island chain, is to prevent the Chinese from being able to constrain the United States anywhere outside of their immediate local area. They're trying to seal off the Chinese military and the Chinese people through a blockade of their coast. That's why we talk about Taiwan and not Cuba, right? We're not talking about Chinese forces in Cuba, right? We're talking about putting American forces in Taiwan. And the Chinese, since the diplomacy with Nixon, diplomacy has been very effective for the Chinese. Like, they've been able to raise their quality of life, grow their economy, help their own people, because the boot of the American empire was lifted from their neck. So for them, the idea of doing diplomacy first and focusing on yourself has been incredibly successful. And so their answer is, why the fuck should we go into wars of choice abroad? That's crazy. The Chinese are doing what we on the left say America should do. Bring the troops home. Obviously, don't make ourselves vulnerable to some sort of attack from outside. That's insane. But focus on developing your own country and raising the standard of living of your own people. And that's what the Chinese have been doing. So Americans see that and they're like, no, China, abandon that plan of caring about your own people and please fight us, presumably is what you're calling for. Fight us in a war to stop us. How about American leftists focus on stopping our evil government ourselves? Like, why do we need to have China become a global empire to counter our global empire? Why don't we focus on bringing our troops home? Like, what the fuck is this? Like, whenever I hear a white American talking about how China should be doing more, I think to myself, how about you do more, motherfucker? It's your government. Your government is the evil empire. You're like, please, China, save me from my own self. What? It's ridiculous. What are you doing, Mark? I am doing everything I can within the law at this point. And you could say, Mike, you should break the law. You first, bitch. I'm doing everything I fucking can. I don't think you could do more than I am, honestly. I mean, you can. But again, within the law. Like, within the law. Like, I am one of the first people who argued against China being some evil empire. I'm one of the first people in the online space to come out and say what China is doing in their own country is actually very effective and we should look at it, and that China is not our enemy. I'm one of the first people. I've been doing this since 2019. Everybody else was like, oh my God, China, blah, 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 we should fight a war. Everyone else was calling me a tanky for that position. So, you know, and as far as politics, I mean, is there any question that I'm not involved? I now got Oliver Larkin is now going on a Hasan stream because I told him to bring him on. I said, hey, you got to bring this guy on. He's doing great. We got to do more. Now I'm going to be fucking left in the dust. You fell off. Hasan became Chinese before you. Don't even start. New Qantas Insights main Senate race, March 9, 2026. Collins 44.6, Mills 43. Collins versus Plattner. Plattner 48.6, Collins 41.8. Democratic primary, Mills 38, Plattner 43.3. Is this how you spell it? Why is this? I thought I spelled it correctly. Why the fuck is it? How is this word not in the dictionary? How the fuck is this incredibly commonly used English word not in the dictionary? I don't know what to say. There's electability right here in NBC News from 1 day ago. How the fuck is this incredibly a common English word not in the dictionary at this point? Fucking ridiculous. Irregardless, you should still use it. Shut up. I bet you irregardless is still in the fuck. I bet you if I type that shit, it's in here. Okay, thank God. Okay, irregardless isn't in there. Thank God. So here you have it, folks. Graham Plattner is electable. Janet Mills isn't. I mean, this is a massive difference. 9-point difference between the two and the general election. Jesus Christ. 2 polls just came out showing Collins 14-15 over Plattner. What kind of monster makes an account of this health site in March 2024? The answer is they're a lying bot. I mean, what do you want me to say? They're a lying bot. Alpha 7079. Yeah, that's a bot name. What do you want? What do you want from me?
This is an issue that everyone is concerned about. It is also the focal point in the current international situation. China's attitude is objective and impartial. We have stated our principled position on multiple occasions, which can be summarized into one key message, that is, to bring about ceasefire and end hostilities. Ancient Chinese wisdom warns that weapons are ominous tools and should not be used without discretion. Seeing the Middle East engulfed in flames, I want to say that this is a war that should not have happened. It is a war that does no one any good. The history of the Middle East tells the world time and again that force provides no solution. An armed conflict will only increase hatred and breed new crises. Once again, China calls for an immediate stop to military operations to avoid the spiraling escalation of the situation and prevent the conflict from spilling over and spreading. China is of the view that to find the right and proper solution to the issues relating to Iran and the Middle East, the following fundamental principles must be observed. First, respecting state sovereignty. Sovereignty is the cornerstone of the current international order. We believe that the sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity of Iran and all countries in the Gulf region should be respected and must not be violated. Second, rejecting the abuse of force. Might does not make right. The law of the jungle must not return and rule the world. Willful use of force does not prove one's strength. Civilians are innocent and should not be victimized. Third, non-intervention.
I mean, I can tell you right now, and listen, I'm not saying that I know better than the Chinese Communist Party or Xi Jinping. But I can tell you right now, if it were me, I'd invade Taiwan right now. I mean, I'm just saying, like, if I hypothetically was inside the Chinese national security establishment, I would say now is the time. Do it now. I would say that. Just saying. And by the way, I'm not saying it's good. I oppose that. Mike from PA, I personally oppose it. What I want you to understand is, what I'm saying is the calculation that you would make if you were in their shoes. It would make logical sense to invade Taiwan right now. The United States is overstretched, and they would not be capable of defending Taiwan in this moment. And so if you had any aggressive tendencies toward Taiwan, you would invade now. But the reality is they don't, because they haven't. And like, I that's the reality. Like, I would be saying, Furthermore, even if I did intend, there's also another position. Kat from PA. No, it's the opposite of Kat, actually. Kat wants us to fight a war with China over Taiwan. She's fucking insane. Because from their position, if might makes right, well, Taiwan represents an existential threat to China's national security. So if we're in the might makes right world, United States is distracted. Now is the time to invade. That's the reality. That's the fucking reality. Because you cannot guarantee China's security while Taiwan sits as a dagger pointed at the heart of China. The only security you have in this new world is standoff distance. The further and further away an enemy is, the more expensive it is for them to strike you. So the only way to ensure security is to push them back further and further. That's the reality. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing. I think it's a bad thing. I don't want it to happen. But the logic of invasion of Taiwan is increasing. Every single day this war goes on. It's really not the best time at all. They wouldn't be able to do it fast enough to negate a U.S. response. They don't have the assets to be able to do it yet. First of all, yes, they do. Second of all, if the United States is pulling out things like THAAD systems and air defense systems out of Asia, the United States will not be able to defend their bases from Chinese strikes. If American carriers are in high tempo operations in the Middle East, it means they will be down both physically from being able to sail to the Pacific, and two, they are going to have to go down for maintenance, so they wouldn't be able to respond. Again, I am not saying this is good. I'm saying that if the Chinese had aggressive designs for Taiwan, it is now becoming ripe that they strike now. I certainly, if the shoe was on the other foot, the American national security regime would attack, because that's the way we calculate things. Taiwan's gas is going to run out soon. Maybe they're waiting for that. Oh, that's actually a really good point. That's actually a really good point. They could have, if the war drags on and the Hormuz Strait stays closed, liquid fuels could deplete in South Korea and Japan and Taiwan, and then China could attack. Oh, Taiwan has less than 2 weeks of natural gas reserves. Do you see why I'm saying it? Oh my God! Holy shit! Holy shit!
Experience in internal affairs. The people in the Middle East are the true master of the region. Middle Eastern affairs should be determined by regional countries independently. Plotting color revolution or seeking regime change will find no popular support. Fourth, promoting political settlement of hotspot issues. China always believes that peace is the most precious. All sides should return to the negotiating table as quickly as possible, resolve differences through equal dialogue, and make efforts for realizing common security. Fifth, major countries should play a constructive role and use their strength in goodwill. Another ancient Chinese adage reads, "When benevolence and justice are not practiced, the position of strength shifts." Major countries should act in the spirit of justice and righteousness and contribute more positive energy to peace and development of the Middle East. As a sincere friend and strategic partner, China stands ready to work with Middle Eastern countries to implement the Global Security Initiative and restore order to the Middle East, restore tranquility to the people, and restore peace to the world. Thank you.
请大家继续提问。南区第一排这位女士。
谢谢主持人，我是新加坡亚洲新闻台 CNA 记者。China proposed the Global Governance Initiative last year, alongside its participation in mechanisms such as the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and BRICS. Some observers interpret this as China signaling a desire to play a bigger role in global governance and see this as a direct response to Western-led policies and frameworks. How would you, Mr. Wang Yi, respond to that interpretation? And how does China address views that intensifying major power rivalries, including between China and the US, could further deepen global divisions? Thank you.
亚洲新闻台，去年中国提出了全球治理倡议。一些观察人士认为，中国提出该倡议以及参与上合组织、金砖国家等机制，表明中方希望在全球治理中发挥更大作用，直面西方主导的政策和机制。您对此
I do believe that there is a strong possibility that Donald Trump would use a nuclear weapon. I've had that same fear since 2015, bro. Like I've always thought if there's anybody in the entire world that would use a nuclear weapon, who has the personality disorders to use a nuclear weapon, and who has built a cult of people around him that would justify it through some pseudo religious blathering, it's Donald Trump. Well, when will Americans wake up and rise against their fascist leaders? The answer is that Americans believe they could take power through the system again. Americans have not lost faith in the electoral system and other means of power where they don't have to do anything personally risky. So even though Americans disapprove of what's going on, they are not personally affected enough yet to want to risk their own lives, is the answer. Now, there are some people that are out there on the streets from time to time. Those people have been targeted by the state apparatus. And so most Americans would rather keep their heads down and make money for themselves and their family at this point. They haven't yet. They don't feel like there's no way they can win. They still have faith overall in the system. So until that system faith is shaken, and this is most important, their own personal lives are affected. It's unlikely that Americans are going to, quote, rise up, right? Like, why would we rise up? That's the reality. So hopefully things don't continue to escalate to a point where it's I mean, I guess I have the question of why don't the Europeans rise up, right? Why aren't you Europeans rising up? Mike, will the U.S. military ever mutiny? They're not taking enough casualties. They would have to suffer hundreds of thousands of casualties before a mutiny would become a thing. Right now, they feel impunity. They don't feel like they're personally under threat. I mean, do you see the Russian military mutinying? They're taking hundreds of thousands of casualties. They're draftees. Do you see them mutinying? It's a mutiny. Widespread mutiny requires a lot of things to go wrong.
有何回应？有观点认为。
The UK now has days worth of liquid natural gas left. Great Britain only has 2 days of gas stored. God, Starmer may be one of the dumbest motherfuckers of all time. That actually does explain quite a lot. Great Britain only has 2 days of fossil gas stored after decline in energy reserves as more tankers carrying liquefied natural gas are diverted from their course to Europe towards Asia because of the Iran war. Great Britain has 6,999 gigawatt hours of fossil gas stored on Saturday, according to figures from Natural Gas, who owns and operates the Gas National Transmission System. This compares with 9,105 gigawatt hours a year earlier. Maximum capacity is 12 days of gas. That's crazy that they didn't stockpile when it was very low. It's crazy how dumb these motherfuckers are. It's crazy. Most of our gas comes from the UK continental shelf in Norway, complemented by LNG interconnectors with continental Europe and storage. Great Britain benefits from a wide supply of sources that market draws on every day. Together, those provide the flexibility needed to balance supply and demand reliably throughout the year. At least 2 tankers have been redirected in the middle of the Atlantic from Europe to Asia since Friday. Gas prices have soared since the U.S. and Israel began intense airstrikes in Iran. Oh yeah, I mean, look at this motherfucker. Look at this motherfucker copying my shit, by the way. What the fuck is this? 9 days into Operation Epic Mistake, oil prices have doubled while all commodities are skyrocketing. We know the U.S. is plotting against our oil and nuclear sites and hoping of obtaining huge inflationary shock. Iran is fully prepared, and we too have many surprises in store. Listen, if there's any country in the world that I believe could do sleeper cells or terrorist attacks that are horrible, it is Iran. I believe them. I believe them. I believe them. And I'm not, I am not looking forward. I don't want this to happen. Like I don't want any innocent person to die. The Defense Department has identified the 7th service member killed in the Iranian attacks as Sergeant Benjamin N. Pennington of Glendale, Kentucky. Pennington was wounded in a March 1st attack on his base in Saudi Arabia and died from his injuries on Sunday. He was stationed at a strategic radar site that supports the missile defense early warning systems. Is this all verified information? Trump reposted Drew Pavlov? This is the equivalent of Bernie Sanders retweeting Adam Panada. That's the best way to understand this. Too Raw, Too Real is at least American. Drew Pavlov is Australian. That's why Adam Panada is the best person. And they have absolutely no emotion whatsoever. Also, my prediction, I predicted that Destiny would become a Republican by 2028. And I got to tell you, chat, that he's on track. I'm on track to be correct. I predicted that Destiny would be voting Republican by 2028, and it's all on track. The left is winning. His viewpoints are completely marginalized. The only, you know, he's still pro-Israel. Pro-Israel will become a Republican position. Maybe not by 2028, but it's heading in that direction. Where basically people have to pretend that they don't support Israel to be a Democrat at this point. They have to obscure it. Being an open supporter of Israel is now becoming a liability in the Democratic primary. Even with the billions and billions of dollars that surge to you. So think about that. Like, you support Israel, you get millions of dollars, and it's still not enough. Banks are starting to lose faith. Oh, so Drew Pavlov is kind of like the canary in the coal mine for the Destiny orbiters. It'll be funny when they're all Republican. I mean, that's really what they are anyway. Like, they've always really been Republicans. Now, as the Democratic Party was full of dinos, centrist scum whose entire job was to make the Democratic Party non-functional, they fit in that group, right? But there's only a matter of time before Destiny and Ethan Klein become Republicans. Like, fun. And, you know, Republicans would be very unpopular, which tracks their fucking political instincts and skills. It would be very stupid to become a Republican in 2021. AOC is going to be president. That guy. Do you understand that Destiny is obsessed with hating me and Hasan? AOC is the entire reason I became, like, AOC and Bernie Sanders are the reason why Hasan and I became popular. If she became president, it would be a complete and utter vindication of what I've been saying since day one of my stream. And it would be a complete and utter refutation of his entire ideology, all of his arguments, all of his logic, everything he's argued for 7 fucking years against us. He would be completely disproven. He would be fundamentally shattered. He would have no foot to stand on whatsoever. And by the way, he doesn't usually make many stands anyway. He's not really someone who believes in ideas. He's just a perverted debater who I would say he's basically like, he's got the mentality of an American lawyer who's paying the most right now. I mean, did you see this? He's pondering taking money from Israel. Oh no, I tweeted too much this weekend, so maybe I have to scroll back far. Also, Asmon Gold is dumber than dirt. He doesn't really have any motion outside of the Twitter bots. But Asmon Gold is a fucking moron. And it's not even, he doesn't even really make me mad because he's too dumb to make me mad. You know what I mean? Like, no one intelligent is looking at Asmon Gold and going like, oh my God, he's so true, bestie. He's literally stupid. How can you become mad at a moron? It's not like he has any power, right? Like, also he got fired from Mythic Talent. He may be one of the dumbest pieces of shit I've ever seen. And it doesn't even make me mad because he's so stupid. Did I see the Birdman videos on him? No, not at all. Did you see him triple down on killing medics? Send it. I want to talk about it. You know, that being said, like, that position is to the right of the Nazis. Just so you know, killing medics, intentionally trying to kill medics, intentionally trying to kill like the Red Cross and shit, that's to the right of the Nazis. Like, there were things that Hitler did not do. One of them was using chemical weapons. I know we consider Nazis to be like the pure evil or whatever. And they were evil as fuck. There's no doubt about it. But there were things that they didn't want to do. Even they considered some things to be beyond the pale. So, like, being to the right of Hitler is amazing. The Nazis lost because they were too woke. Okay, hold on. I wanna make fun of Destiny. Hold on. Oh, here it is. Okay. Streamer Destiny reveals. By the way, look at how he has no fucking motion. God, he's got no motion. Nobody gives a shit about this guy. If somebody shits on me, they get more like he's got no fucking motion, dude. God, how are you this fucking irrelevant? Holy shit, he's so fucking irrelevant. He thinks it's a video game campaign where you attack the healers. You guys are being too nice to him. That's the only thing that you can come up with to try to make this make sense. No, he understands. Asmon Gold understands that it's against the Geneva Conventions. Asmon Gold understands that it's against American law. Asmon Gold understands that it's against, conventions of war that go back to the 17th century. All right? He's just a nihilistic, evil piece of shit. He wants to die because his life sucks and there's no hope of it getting better. I want you to understand Asmongold, you have to understand his life is never going to get better. Almost every single person in my chat, if I gave you $1 million tomorrow, you would use it to improve your life. Is there anybody in the chat whose life would not improve if I gave them $1 million? If I gave you $1 million tax-free tomorrow, would it improve your life? Is there anybody in this chat whose life would not be improved? If your life would not be improved by $1 million, you need to be giving me 100 gifted subs right now because you have too much money. Okay. You have too much fucking money. If $1 million given to you tomorrow would not improve your life. Okay. Give me 100 subs if it wouldn't. Because you have too much fucking money. Now with Asmongold, his life is what it is and it'll never get better. Do you understand how he is more hopeless than anyone has ever been in the entire fucking history of the planet? Like, other than a terminally ill person who's dying, even them, you give them $1 million, they would use it to make sure that their loved ones were better off for when they passed. They would probably get pleasure and happiness from that, right? Asmongold's life will never get better, ever. He's completely hopeless. Think about that. Think about having a life completely bereft of hope. It'll never get better, ever, never, ever, never, ever, ever, ever. He'll never find love. He'll never truly be comfortable. Do you think it's comfortable to be surrounded by filth, stinking, unshowered, dirty sheet? You think he's comfortable eating nothing but fast food and sugar water all day? You think he physically feels comfortable in his own skin? Like he can't even make himself comfortable in his room. He's that much of a fucking loser. So when he says kill little girls, when he says kill kids, when he says kill the medics in the Red Cross or whatever, when he says commit war crimes and murder, it's because he's bereft of hope and he wants to die, but he doesn't know how. He doesn't know how. He's just that depressed. And honestly, you know what? I feel indifferent toward him. I don't even pity him. He can't even make me mad. Now, I don't want him to die. I want him to get help. I don't want him to hurt himself. I don't want him to suffer, but he's never going to get better because he surrounds himself by evil rapists like Tectone. Do you think Tectone cares about you? You think Tectone cares about his buddy Asmongold? You think Rich Campbell cares about Asmongold? You think any of his friends have the ability to feel empathy or care for another human being? He decides to surround himself with the most evil sociopaths he can. He chooses to be in pain. He chooses to suffer. And no amount of money could give him. So that's why he is the way he is. Because he's bereft of hope. And all he could do, he's also a coward. That's the other important thing to keep in mind. He's also a cowardly worm. All right? And as a cowardly worm, as a person full of fear, he can't change. He's incapable of change. All right, let's watch Destiny real quick.
I will say I did get some company reached out to give me a huge sponsored trip to Israel, and I'm considering whether I want to take or not.
Really?
Yeah, because I just don't know if I give a fuck anymore about this fucking country.
But what company though? Like to go look at their data centers, or just to go over there and do fucking propaganda?
No, it's like this is definitely Israeli, and it's definitely slanted in that direction. I think 5 of the 9 days are in Tel Aviv.
If Hasan can do his China trip.
Who is?
I don't know what the name of the company is. They reach out to you with people. I had a Zoom call with 4 of them, and then yeah, I don't know. I just don't know if I give a fuck about this. I don't know what content I would even film or what the fuck I might just do it for a fucking vacation, and then hopefully I get blown up by somebody there. The largest leftist streamer literally did a paid propaganda trip to fucking China,
Okay, so the important thing to remind you is that Hasan did not do a paid propaganda trip. He wasn't paid. So Destiny is openly saying he is being offered propaganda trips to Israel. And to justify it, he's spreading lies about Hasan. The other thing is, if China offered you money, China's not doing wars in the Middle East and genociding a people right now. Okay? Millions of Americans travel to China every year. China is one of our top trading partners and has been for 40 years. Okay? You go, almost everything you buy at a store is made in China. Okay? So the idea that interacting with China is some sort of big crime is nonsense. Meanwhile, this motherfucker's trying to get paid by Israel.
Unfathomably crazy propaganda, pro-China, pro-CCP China propaganda trip.
What do you get? Nothing. How much are you really saving here to give them the ultimate forever W on you?
How is it a W, though?
Even Dan Saltzman, the Zionist, is telling him not to do it. And, you know, this reminded me, I don't know if you guys can find the clips. I'm sure this is something somebody has somewhere. But when the NFT craze was happening, do you remember NFTs, chat? Remember how we made fun of NFTs and said they were fucking stupid as fuck? Remember all the NFT garbage? The non-fungible tokens? And how everybody was, all the tech bros were trying to make it happen? Well, Destiny said, oh, NFTs are a scam. They're so stupid. They're so worthless. And then 3 days later, he took a sponsorship with an NFT organization and sold them to his audience. Twitch streamer Destiny criticized for promoting NFTs after calling it a scam. And honestly, I think if you are in Destiny's community at this point, really, ontologically, you are evil. So who gives a fuck what happens to you? Like, really? Like, if you still like Destiny at this point, like, I honestly don't give a shit what happens to you. Like, you really are a morally depraved scumbag. So who gives a shit? Get scammed by Destiny. Who cares? It's kind of funny. All right, so Asmongold. Here's Asmongold. Let's talk about this real quick. I think Hasan had covered this. I might want to watch Hasan's coverage of it because I don't care enough to go find all the things, and it's easier to react to his shit. The fuck is this? CNN Fear Extreme Greed Index is now at extreme fear. Has the how much has the stock market dropped? Okay, 400. So Brent crude is above $100 a barrel. Oil is at $99 a barrel. Guys, is this good? Guys, is this good? Guys, is this good? It briefly went over at $115 a barrel, but it looks like it has come down off of that. It's still up. It's still up 8% from Friday. Do I think gas will hit $7 a gallon? Definitely in California. Oil shock prompts South Korea to impose price cap for the first time in 30 years. Guys, wait a minute. Spaghetti-o. Mike, is this the last nail in the coffin for German industry? Well, they're gonna borrow a bunch of money to spend on Rheinmetall. So every single political party that's doing well in Germany right now is a warmonger party. So all I know about Germany is they're going to rearm. All right, where was Asmongold? Let's just make fun of him.
Still doesn't excuse the double tap. Only reason for that is to kill medical. Well, of course you should kill their medical. Like, if they're helping, of course you should kill their medics. Like, if you have these people that are helping these soldiers that are terrorizing you and fighting against you,
Can you imagine being the artist who learned how to play a flute and dedicated your life to art and making music, and then this fucking disgusting rotting corpse takes your music and plays it as a backing track for his dumb, worse than Nazi takes?
should of course shoot them. Duh. Like, what are you talking about? That's a war. What? Yes, absolutely.
Now, here's the thing, chat. This is a crime under international law, by the way. You know, telling people to commit war crimes, especially things like this, is basically a crime in and of itself. And so, okay, Asmongold is a criminal. He's basically fomenting war crimes. Is what it is. You know, he is a war criminal. It is what it is. Did you see a video of two comedians tricking Reza Pavlani into a Zoom call during the Munich security conference? Amazing.
That's a war crime? What do you mean? The medics? Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Jules.
It's a brutal take. It's not a brutal take. Still doesn't excuse the double tap. Only reason for that is to kill medical. Well, of course you should kill their medical. Like, if they're helping, of course you should kill their medics. Like, if you have these people that are helping these soldiers that are terrorizing you and fighting against you, you should of course shoot them. Duh. Like, what are you talking about? That's a war. What? Yeah.
He's such a fucking dumb rat. Of course, he's so stupid. Now, this has been like it has been basically against international law for a very, very, very long time. All right. This is the International Committee of the Red Cross on international law of armed conflicts. This state practice established this rule as a norm of customary international law applicable to both international and non-international armed conflicts. This rule goes back to the 1864 Geneva Convention. Okay, so this is 19th century convention. All right, this is not some sort of hippy dippy shit, right? This is stuff that the 19th century empires were agreeing to. This is shit during the American Civil War they were agreeing to. Okay. And was repeated in the subsequent Geneva Conventions of 1906 and 1929. It is now set forth in the First, Second, and Fourth Geneva Conventions of 1949. Its scope was expanded in Article 15 of Additional Protocol 1 to cover civilian medical personnel in addition to military medical personnel in all circumstances. And, under the statute of the International Criminal Court, intentionally directing attacks against personnel using distinctive emblems of the Geneva Conventions in conformity with international law constitutes a war crime in international armed conflict. Numerous military manuals recall the obligation to respect and protect medical personnel. Under the legislation of many states, it is a war crime to violate this rule. I mean, it is basically simple. Medical personnel refers to personnel assigned by a party to the conflict exclusively to the search for, collection, transportation, diagnosis, or treatment, including first aid treatment of wounded, sick, and shipwrecked, and the prevention of disease, to the administration of medical units, or to the operation or administration of medical transports. Such assignments may be either permanent or temporary. The term medical personnel includes medical personnel of a party to the conflict, whether military or civilian, including those described in the First and Second Geneva Conventions, and those assigned to civil defense organizations. Medical personnel of the National Red Cross or Red Crescent societies and other voluntary aid societies duly recognized and authorized by a party to the conflict, including the ICRC, International Committee of the Red Cross. Medical personnel made available to a party to the conflict for humanitarian purposes by a neutral or other state which is not party to the conflict, by a recognized and authorized aid society of such a state, or by an impartial international humanitarian organization. Okay, so basically even military medics of the Iranian military cannot be intentionally targeted as long as they're not engaged in military operations, which going to a civilian elementary school and providing medical care to children who are bombed is not a military operation. So intentionally targeting them is a war crime. Furthermore, according to US law, under the War Crimes Act, 18 USC, section 2441, war crimes, under US law, let's see here. Let's see. I gotta find the exact section. Let me see here. If you solicit, oh, hold on. Let me see if I can find solicit. Oh, fuck. I have to find the exact section. But basically, if you solicit people to violate war crimes, that is a crime in and of itself.
We gotta send Asmon Gold to the front lines, man. I think we gotta send him to the front lines. Like, look at this. Asmon Gold.
America bombed a school. Sounds going nuts about a school getting bombed. Oh, a school got bombed? Yeah, I didn't see that. I mean, again, any time that I hear somebody trying to cry and get upset about, like, oh my God, Israel and America bombed a school, Iran killed thousands of their own people.
We gotta send.
Okay. By the way, chat, I don't know how many people were killed in the clashes between protesters and the Iranian government. Like, I don't think there is a reliable count at this point, but we can see very clearly the 160 little girl corpses that were killed by America. All right. Now, as from what I understand, a significant portion of those people killed in the protests were police and government officials. So it seems like the protests were more violent uprisings than they were like protests. I am not trying to justify the killing of anybody by the Iranian government. I don't particularly like the Iranian government. But who gives a shit what my opinion is of the Iranian government while my country is illegally bombing this country, right? And the United States has been and Mossad have been fomenting civil strife in Iran for decades. So let's be completely honest here. We have been aggressively attacking this country for decades. I don't think it's our job to go around and go like, I think they're I think that these people committed crimes here. White House will not rule out Iran war draft. So let's leave aside that question. Like, if you're one of those people who's like, Mike, we have to spend our time condemning the IRGC. It's like, what are you doing, man? The entire point of that is to convince regular normie people that it's not their business because the Iranian government is evil. Therefore, the United States breaking laws, well, they're breaking laws against the bad people. That's the entire purpose. You are not sitting in judgment of other countries. Just shut the fuck up, you American. You stupid American who thinks you have the right to kill other people's kids because you have criticized the government. Shut the fuck up already. Would you be okay if an American elementary school was bombed by China? Our American military have killed millions of people. millions of people throughout the world. Would it be okay if our children got bombed because our government is committing wars of aggression? Obviously, you would say that that was bad. Shut the fuck up. Calling Trump right now if he didn't get the draft rolling. Oh, the full clip is even stupider. All right, hold on. Let me hop this in.
Sounds going nuts about a school getting bombed. Oh, a school got bombed? Yeah, I didn't see that. I mean, again,
he doesn't even look at the news. He doesn't even look at the news. I think the main thing about Asmongold is that he does. The only reason I even pay attention to him is because he is perfectly representative of the right wing now. This is the right wing. This is the right wing. They're uneducated. They're stupid. Incels. They are. They try to vice signal as the most brutal guy that you've ever heard of. They're so edgy. Meanwhile, this guy's rotting in his fucking mom's house. You know what I mean? Like, this is not exactly a fucking Ranger Battalion member, okay? This is a guy rotting in his video games playing dress up, okay? This is not exactly a Winter Soldier over here, all right? Like, but that is all he has, is trying to be edgy. But I pay attention to Asmongold because he represents the right. And what is like paying attention to Asmongold teach you? What he teaches you about the right is they just have to be defeated as thoroughly and as toughly as possible. It's not that big of a deal. Like, we use state power against them and we oppress them. It's not like, okay, and moving on. Like, we arrest guys that are calling for people committing war crimes. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And you move on. You don't waste your time trying to persuade this. Does this guy look like somebody who cares about anything but vice signaling? He just likes to signal he's a bad man who believes evil things. That's the entire right wing now. We're bad people who want to do harm. Well, you're going to convince that guy through sound argument? The reality is this is a tiny sub-fraction of people in the country. They don't really represent a large number of people. And the more and more people see and hear from Asmongold, the more unpopular it's getting. Notice that I am been perfectly correct about this. Do you guys remember when I said the vibe shift is today? Things are going to get better from here. I mean, as far as the American sentiment, not what Donald Trump's doing. What Donald Trump is doing is going to get worse. But the way people feel about Trump and people like Zach, more and more people hate him. He got fired from his own company yesterday. Unfortunately, there are smart right-wingers like right nurses and engineers. Of course there are smart right-wingers. Of course there are. And there were smart Nazis. And you don't have to persuade them. You just have to defeat them. How long is this? Oh, 1 hour? Bro, come on. Why is everything so fucking long, dude? I wish people would break up their videos into multiple videos, like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Feels like you would make more money anyway. Am I crazy? I guess it's hard to get multiple videos to go viral, right? So that's the downside, right? Did you see Cory Booker is set to unveil a bill to make $75,000 in income tax free? That's dumb as fuck. God, he's such a dumb piece of shit. Fuck, these centrists are so stupid. God damn, they're so fucking dumb.
His ass to the front lines, bro. That's it. You talk like this about a school getting bombed with our tax dollars. You're not pissed off about that. You go, let's send you, instead of bombs, let's send Asmongold.
People, and nobody talking about that at all. So yeah, I mean, if a school gets bombed,
nobody was talking about the Iranian protest. Okay.
Kids get killed. It's sad. It's obviously a tragedy, but it's collateral damage in a war, and it's inevitable, number one. And number two, if they didn't want that to happen, maybe they shouldn't have been funding terror groups and antagonizing a world superpower like America.
This is the problem that he runs into when he's like so Reddit and so incredibly embedded in the like Nick Fuentes circles that he doesn't know how to like communicate this kind of stuff, because this is vulgarity beyond what Donald Trump has even demonstrated, right? Like even Trump wouldn't go this far, right? Like the energy is there. The energy that Trump represents is also this exact same thing where it's like, sucks to suck, tough shouldn't have pissed me off. I have the power to nuke your country if I want to, but he doesn't know how to dance around these issues. He doesn't know how to like communicate on these issues well enough, so he just says the most honest thing that comes to his mind, and that's why he comes across like a psychopath, an absolute psychopath, which he is, obviously. I mean, it's just so nasty, it's so stupid, it's so vulgar. You're just like a bad person, and you think that being a bad person is getting you clout for the time being. But I don't think people will forget. I don't think people will forget how you spoke about these issues.
Yeah, no, it's a total blowout. Like, I am so happy this has happened. I am just dramatically, tremendously happy this has happened. I know that, you know, obviously I've talked about it for a long time, about how big of a problem Iran is and everything. I was a big supporter of us bombing them before, and now we're bombing them again. And this is just amazing. Hopefully this is going to be the end of it, right? And so, yeah. Same, thank goodness. Exactly, man. And we'll look at some of the other things that have happened, but it's just been a total and complete blowout.
No accountability? I mean, yeah, I don't think Twitch is going to offer any accountability yet. Just wait for the midterms to come around. If the Democrats actually start winning again, all these other corporate entities that previously were terrified of like a Trump administration reaction, if the midterms happen at all, will turn around and start taking action. I mean, his talent agency decided to no longer work with him. He co-founded this talent agency, and that's, you know, it's one step. But he said it's valid to kill medics.
Still doesn't excuse the double tap. Only reason for that is the medical. Well, of course you should medical. Like, if
midterms changing anything is liberal cope, and I agree with you, Nars. I agree with you. The main problem is that Democrats are more corrupt than you think. Is generally the problem. Like, even the most hardened left-winger, if I went to DSA and I was talking to people about politics, all of them think the Democratic Party is less corrupt than it actually is. That's kind of the crisis, is that I'm really one of the only people who understands how corrupt the Democratic Party is. And even the supposed left wing, like Hasan or Majority Report, they think the Democratic Party is some sort of like decent group that could be like persuaded or something. And what I need you to understand is about 90% of Democrats would shoot you in the head with a gun who are in office if it gave them 1% more in the polls. Like, they would shoot you in the head with a gun and they would throw your body into a ditch with no hesitation whatsoever. They would shoot your entire family with a gun and throw it into a ditch personally, with no hesitation whatsoever. So once you realize just how bad it is, there's probably only 45 decent human beings in Congress, and that's stretching the definition of decent. You start to understand that we are a little bit further away from where we need to be. Now, maybe like, 100 of them could be, pressured into voting the right way, and they would for their own personal, stop with the Amerifat take of slandering the leftists that criticize Dems. It's not slandering. I'm explaining they're naive. That's not slandering. That's an objective reality. It's not that DSA is bad. DSA is great. The only problem with DSA is that they're naive. What do you want me to say? That's the only problem with DSA. I love DSA, but they're fucking naive. Like, if I went into a DSA, there would be a bunch of, they're naive and they're excessively nice, which is, what do you want me to say? It is what it is. Like, I wouldn't have it any other way, okay? But, like, honestly, they're people. If you're a left-wing person, you're overwhelmingly motivated. I apparently closed my door, chat. God damn it. I closed my door and the cat's like sticking both of their arms underneath the door, trying to get in. I love when they do that. Why? They're gonna get hurt. I don't like that. Let them in. I have to they try to my desk is too small. The main problem with this setup is my desk is too small. And so they can't really jump on it. I don't really have any space for them to sit. So they've been jumping behind my monitors and wedging themselves. And it's like, oh, no. So what? Never mind. Cats hate closed doors. So true. Anyway, what was I saying? Okay. So the problem that we have is the Democratic Party is a completely dead party that needs to be destroyed. And if you want to understand how bad the Democratic Party is, just look across the pond at the Labor Party. The Labor Party that exists today was advised by Barack Obama's inner circle. The Labor Party that is just excessively targeting the left in the UK and purging all the left-wing members and telling people to leave the party if they're left, like center left or left wing. That is the Democratic Party in America. Okay, it's just but what happened is the leftists in the UK listened. The leftists in the UK are fucking listening, and they started their own party, and they went into a new party called the Green Party, and it's an eco-socialist party, and they're fucking winning, and it's working. But in America, the leftists in America are cocks. They're fucking loser cocks, so they don't leave, and they get whipped by an unpopular establishment that has no motion with any group of voters. If Bernie Sanders and Zoran and a bunch of progressives started their own party, the Democratic Party would fall off a fucking cliff. It would be dead. Unfortunately, they don't believe that. Unfortunately, Bernie Sanders and AOC and Zoran believe you have to work with the Democrats because reasons. If you actually ask them why they think that, it falls apart under the most modest scrutiny. It's very poorly thought out and argued why we have to stay in the Democratic Party. But unless somebody like Bernie Sanders, AOC, leave the party, it's not going to work. The reason why the Greens are able to succeed in the UK is because they won a few seats, and then now they've won in this by-election, and they beat Labour in a Labour-safe seat. So now it looks viable that people could actually run as Greens and win. And so everybody has faith in it, and they're all leaving, right? And they're all joining Green because it seems plausible. In America, it doesn't seem plausible. And so we have a chicken and the egg problem. The U.S. is set up only to have Dems and Rups. No, it's not. No, it's fucking not. I don't want to explain why that's wrong. It's so fucking annoying to explain how that's wrong. The Republican Party is the result of a big party dying. The Democratic Party of today is a result of the Republican Party fracturing. We've had multiple times where major parties have sprung up and fractured the bigger parties. Sometimes those bigger parties reabsorb the fracture and change their policies, and other times those big parties die out. It happens all the time in American history, but everybody's so focused on the last 20 years, they don't have the ability to think deeper. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's finish this coverage, and then we'll talk more about what I'm saying. Oh, oops.
They're helping.
I want to make fun of Asmon. I want to make, okay, chat. I want to make this a video. I want to make a video with Hasan and I making fun of Asmon. So hopefully this is some sort of coherence. Let's just restart from here. Because I got off on a ramble that makes no sense. It's only 3 minutes, so we'll be fine.
We got to send Asmon to the front lines, man. I think we got to send him to the front lines. Like, look at this.
Israel and America bombed a school.
Sounds going nuts about a school getting bombed. Oh, a school got bombed? Yeah, I didn't see that.
Did you know there was a constitutional amendment that was proposed that if we have a war, there is a national referendum, and then everybody who votes yes automatically registers themselves for the draft. And I want that constitutional amendment passed. And it almost did. It was very close. It's called the Ludlow Amendment. The Ludlow Amendment was proposed amendment to the Constitution of the United States which called for a national referendum on any declaration of war by Congress, except in cases where the United States had been attacked first. It was introduced in 1935 and 1940. Supporters argued that ordinary people who were called upon to fight and die during wartime should have a direct vote on their country's involvement in military conflicts. Except in the event of an invasion of the United States or its territorial possessions, an attack upon its citizens residing therein, the authority of Congress to declare war shall not become effective until confirmed by a majority of all votes cast thereon in a nationwide referendum. Congress, when it deems a national crisis to exist, may by concurrent resolution refer the question of war or peace to the citizens of the states. Question to be voted on being, shall the United States declare war on underline? Congress may otherwise by law provide for the enforcement of this section. Whenever a war is declared, the president shall immediately conscript and take for use by the government all the public and private war properties, yards, factory supplies therein, with the employees necessary for their operation, fixing the compensation for private properties temporarily employed for the war period at a rate of not in excess of 4% based on tax values assessed in the year preceding the war. So this Ludlow Amendment and other amendments like it required national consensus. Now, ultimately, it failed, and the United States went into World War II. And just so you know, if the attack on Pearl Harbor would not have triggered the Ludlow Amendment because it was an attack on U.S. territory. Now we have a situation where the government of the United States just prosecutes war, and the Congress does not follow its own constitutional instructions as being the branch of government that declares war. Now, personally, I believe that if you are supporting a war, you should be drafted into that war. And Asmon is young enough to be drafted. I believe that Asmon should be drafted. He may not be in shape. Make him in shape. Make basic training as long as it takes to get Asmon in shape. Give him free dental care. You know, give him, you know what they would do if Asmongold went into basic training with the hygiene that he has? They would delouse him. They would give him training and they would force him into a shower. They would force him to wash. And I think, like, ultimately, if you are a able-bodied man and you're calling for war with another country, you should be drafted into that war and you should be put in the vanguard. You should be on the first landing craft and all of your assets should be taken to pay for it.
I mean, again, any time that I hear somebody trying to cry and get upset about, like, oh my God, Israel and America bombed a school, Iran killed thousands of their own people.
We got to send his ass to the front lines, bro. That's it. You talk like this.
Also, all of the children of the politicians who vote for the war should be drafted. Aaron Trump, all the Trumps should be drafted. Every single one of them.
About a school getting bombed with our tax dollars, you're not pissed off about that? You go, let's send you, instead of bombs, let's send
Asmongold. People, and nobody
talking about that at all. So yeah, I mean, if a school gets bombed,
nobody was talking about the Iranian protest. Okay.
Kids get killed. It's sad. It's obviously a tragedy, but it's collateral damage in a war, and it's inevitable, number one. And number two, you know, if they didn't want that to happen, maybe they shouldn't have been funding terror groups and antagonizing a world superpower like America.
This is the problem that he runs into when he's like so Reddit and so incredibly embedded in the like Nick Fuentes circles that he doesn't know how to like communicate this kind of stuff, because this is vulgarity beyond what Donald Trump has even demonstrated, right? Like even Trump wouldn't go this far, right? Like the energy is there. The energy that Trump represents is also this exact same thing where it's like, sucks to suck, tough shouldn't have pissed me off. I have the power to nuke your country if I want to, but he doesn't know how to dance around these issues. He doesn't know how to like communicate on these issues well enough, so he just says the most honest thing that comes to his mind, and that's why he comes across like a psychopath, an absolute psychopath, which he is, obviously. I mean, it's just so nasty, it's so stupid, it's so vulgar. You're just like a bad person, and you think that being a bad person is getting you clout for the time being, but I don't think people will forget. I don't think people will forget how you spoke about these issues.
Yeah, no, it's a total blowout. Like, I am so happy this has happened. I am just dramatically, tremendously happy this has happened. I know that, you know, obviously I've talked about it for a long time, about how big.
I think one of the things to keep in mind here is, like, when you see this, like, your first reaction is probably like, wow, I can't believe that Asmongold is saying that he's pro-war now. Wasn't he just saying that he hated Kamala Harris and Joe Biden because they were going to put us in wars? What you have to understand about Asmongold is he's not bright enough to remember what he said. Like, you're thinking of him as like a human being, right? You're thinking of him as somebody who's like believes in something and is trying to understand the world and like recalls what they said in the past. And there's some sort of like desire to be consistent. He doesn't have the intellect to remember what he said. So like, we're going to prove him wrong. Obviously, he said that he was against more wars, right? And he's going to completely contradict himself. But he's not bright enough to remember it. And he's not bright enough to care. He's just kind of inferior to you in every way. And that's why people like watching him. Because it gives people that are pathetic fucking losers somebody to look down on. You're not so bad compared to Asmongold. Sure, you maybe only took one shower this month, but Asmongold has gone 3 months without a shower, right? You may have not brushed your teeth in a week, but Asmongold has never brushed his teeth, right? You may not be that bright, but Asmongold can't even remember what he said last week, right? So that's why people look to him, because he makes them feel better about themselves. He's the ultimate chud lolcow. He also repeats what they want to hear, which if you're not very bright, you enjoy that. If somebody just repeating what you want to hear or saying something edgy, it's amusing if you're not bright. These people, like the people in the Asmongold community, are just subhuman. Like, it's really not that complicated. They are not really, they're in the bottom tier of our society.
of a problem Iran is and everything. I was a big supporter of us bombing them before, and now we're bombing them again, and this is just amazing. Hopefully this is going to be the end of it, right? And so yeah,
when my girlfriend told me about the blood wall, honestly, can I just say I love the fact that he's in permanent pain and discomfort. I think it's fucking awesome. I think it's fucking awesome that he's too much of a lolcow. He can't get his teeth taken care of, even with millions of dollars, right? All he would have to do, and this is so fucking funny, all he would have to do is pick up the phone once, call a local dentist's office and say, hey, I need a lot of work done. Can I schedule an appointment? He would go in, get scanned. They'd say, okay, we need to do a full, we need to do a full cleaning of your entire mouth. We probably need to give you like 6 or 7 crowns, right? They probably have to drill like 6 or 7 cavities. He gets he goes in the next day, gets general anesthetic, get it all knocked out, and get it done in a day. Get a bridge put on if he doesn't want implants over his missing teeth. It would take 1 day.
Thank goodness. Exactly, man. And we'll look at some of the other things that have happened, but it's just been a total and complete blowout.
World of Warcraft, accountability, depression, toy consumer narcissism, Peter Pan syndrome. He doesn't have Peter Pan syndrome. Peter Pan had friends. Asmongold does not have any friends, right? The people around him are only around him because he has views, many of which are about 40% at least are botted, right? And why does he have views? Because he was on Twitch first. He was always online and he won the lottery, basically. Like, all he has around him are clout chasers, orbiters, and fake friends. He doesn't have a real friend. And that's fucking hilarious. I just love the idea that he has no one around him. And it just makes me laugh. It's just funny, dude. It's just legitimately funny. I enjoy watching you, but this personal attack BS is lame as fuck. This is not personal attacks. These are observations of reality, and it is fucking funny. What do you want me to do? Feel bad for the guy? What do you want me to do? Feel bad for the guy? No, I don't feel bad for the guy calling for medics in a war zone to be murdered. You know what I mean? Like, shut the fuck up.
It's just been a total and complete blowout.
No accountability. I mean, yeah, I don't think Twitch is going to offer any accountability yet. Just wait for the midterms to come around. If the Democrats actually start winning again, all these other corporate entities that previously were terrified of like a Trump administration reaction, if the midterms happen at all, will turn around and
by the way, this is my take. Editors, put my take in here. This is my fucking take.
Start taking action. I mean, his talent agency decided to no longer work with him. He co-founded this talent agency.
Oh yeah, this is just the beginning. And here's the thing about woke too. We are refining and we are updating woke. Woke 1 was annoying. I think all of us can agree woke 1 is annoying. They tried to cancel me multiple times, by the way. They tried to cancel me for what did they try to cancel me for? They tried to cancel me for saying that Hasan's idea of doing a trans fundraiser for the Harry Potter game release was a good idea, right? I didn't even play the game, and I never bought it. Somebody tried to cancel me for being transphobic, for saying that would have been a good idea to counter the narrative that, nobody cares about trans people, right? And then they tried to cancel me because I said that Benjamin Netanyahu's Zionist Israeli idea of a settler colonial Jewish identity that erases all the diversity of Jewish ethnic identity is demonic, right? They tried to say that I was anti-Semitic. These are people supposedly on the left, okay? Everybody could agree that those people are fucking annoying, all right? Everybody could agree that those people are fucking worthless, all right? Like, I'm not here to tell you those people aren't annoying. They're fucking annoying. And they do make every place uncomfortable, right? The people that are focused 100% on, like, right now saying anti-Semitism is in the left. Those people, they're fucking annoying. And I kind of think they're an op, to be honest. Woke 2, we've moved on beyond that. All right. We're not going to call you ableist because you make fun of Asmongold for having senile squalor syndrome. All right. Make fun of Asmongold's senile squalor syndrome all you want. Make fun of the rashes on Trump. That's the liberals that do that are right. Woke 2 is about having good analysis, but having a sharp elbows toward the right. We're done with woke 1. And we're not canceling each other. And we're not doing tone policing anymore.
And that's, you know, it's one step. But he said it's valid to kill medics.
Still doesn't excuse the double tap. Only reason for that is the medical. Well, of course you should medical. Like, if they're helping, of course you should medics. Like, if you have these people that are helping these soldiers that are terrorizing you and fighting against you, you should of course them. Duh. Like, what are you talking about? That's a war. What? Yes, absolutely. That's a war crime? What do you mean? The medics? Yes, absolutely. It's a brutal take. It's not a brutal take.
Yeah, he's disgusting. He's a disgusting monster. And I think that there are a lot of people that want that monstrous commentary. We talk about people radicalizing and coming to my side on these issues, coming to our side on these issues, people realizing that, you know, that anti-imperialism is the correct path forward. But then there are also plenty of people that see the vulgar ways in which Donald Trump talks about imperialism and go, yeah, you know, I kind of like this. I actually like it. It's the dynamic between people being able to say the N-word openly, right? Like, some will say, oh, it's good that they're saying the slur because now we know their position. It's very clear, right? But I always warn you that politeness, that veneer, also causes people to not feel comfortable enough to express desires such as that, right? That social nicety also plays a role in the way that we organize. The social nicety also plays, those social rules also play a major role in the way that we approach subjects like race, or in this circumstance, subjects like war and death and destruction, and the unlimited appetite that America has for murder. Caroline Leavitt said Trump might institute a draft. These freaks won't stop. Oh, I will say, while the draft is devastating and it will be mostly poor Americans that suffer as a consequence of that, I think the draft would make this stop much faster. The draft would force the hand of every American to all of a sudden realize that they do have a stake here. It's not just when their burgers are more expensive or gas is more expensive. All of a sudden you have a real role that you're playing in this. You have you're putting your body on the line, and I think that was part of the reason why people were much more aggressive in Vietnam in their anti-war movement, and that politics was far more radical back then than it is now. I will say, like, the poverty draft function, like military as a profession, has kind of created this really damaging environment for the third world, to the countries that we dominate, and that damage is over there. We have this total separation from the death and destruction that we cause, and even like the people that go there and they get f***ed up and then they come back, and, you know, 22 veterans a day or and whatnot, like even all of that stuff is kind of brushed under the rug. You can't really do that if you have a draft. That becomes very real for every single American under the age.
I personally believe we should have a draft. Like, I know that people are hear that and go, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like, no, we should absolutely have a draft. When the United States of America has a draft, everybody gets the risk and threat of war. The smartest thing that the libertarians and the conservative fusionists ever came up with was the idea of a volunteer military. See how it makes everybody on the left stupid as well? Because now, if it's a volunteer military, everybody who joins the military is now making a morally bankrupt decision, right? And therefore, all veterans are permanently disenfranchised from the left, which is exactly what the right wants. The right wants control over the veteran class, because those are the people that are important in maintaining power. If you have the military and the veteran class united behind a faction, that faction has a big advantage in civil conflict. So we need to abolish the volunteer military. We need to abolish the mercenary mentality of the military. It is 100%, and it's about making a warrior caste. That's another problem. That flies in the face of a democratic will. Democracy should only have civilian militaries. They should not have volunteer militaries. They should have civilian militaries made up of draftees. The professional military class should be small and kept small. And that's how the United States was originally set up. The founding fathers understood this, by the way. They have a lot of flaws in their thought, but the founding fathers did understand one thing. Standing armies and professional militaries are a threat to freedom. And the United States of America ended that tradition in the Cold War. That should tell you something. That should tell you something. Why did the United States end the civilian military in the Cold War? Because they were fighting the left. It was a political decision to shore up the right wing. So we should go back, because it would result in less American imperialism abroad, because more people would be directly affected of all walks of life of America's military adventurism. And so bring it back and get rid of, by the way, your odds of being drafted should go up the more your parents make. The more wealth your parents make, the odds of you being drafted should go up. So if you're a billionaire, the American military is defending more of your assets, so your children should have a 100% chance to go in, and they should go into MOSs that are most likely to face combat. So I'm talking about like mountaineer divisions, I'm talking about light infantry, you know, stuff like that. That should be the MOS for billionaires. And that draft should include any billionaire. So if you have a billionaire and you have a billionaire, they have any assets in the United States, your children should be subject to draft, no matter where in the world they live. These are the type of programs and systems that should be set up to counterbalance the power of wealth in our society.
At 35, all of a sudden they're
Let's
like,
draft the wealthy people themselves, not the kids. I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously, but if somebody's 90 years old, right? If somebody's 90 fucking years old, I know there is this kind of like mentality that children of the rich are completely, you know, they are completely innocent. And it's like, no, they're not. You have no problem when the billionaires send their kids to a fucking private boarding school in Switzerland to give them 80 tutors and give them high quality health care and protect them, you know, give them the life of luxury and servants. But then you're going to pretend like the children of the billionaires have no stake in the billions of dollars that their parents have and this control over society that they have. Ridiculous. If the children of billionaires want to get out of being drafted, they have to renounce all inheritance. If they renounce all their inheritance, then they can get out of getting drafted. If they want to renounce any gifts or any assets from their parents, then they can get out of getting drafted. But if they want to live the lap of luxury of a military designed about protecting their property, well, then they've got another thing coming.
also where I serve this country. Yeah, I mean, you can do a conscientious objection and go to prison potentially. But yeah, grabbing voting records to only draft them voters. I think if they kick-started the draft, people would radicalize very quickly when all of a sudden they have to go and fight. Oh my God, we're gonna forcibly conscript you to fight for Israel. That's an argument you're gonna make to goddamn Americans in the heartland. Are you kidding me?
Send Baron.
I can't even comprehend what a future like that would look like, because like, we're not even talking about Vietnam era now. We're talking about, like, literally, we are talking about a country that's already unstable, a country that's very polarized, a country that's very frustrated, a country where material conditions have diminished. You're gonna tell a rudderless guy living in a town with like a dead-end job that has no other options, now he has to go and die for Israel in Iran? No, he's not gonna do that shit at all. Send Barron. Yeah, we're doing a draft, and every senator's child has to go to war. Yeah, that's the only draft I'm for. Okay, put those who stand to gain the most in the front lines. You know, all the kids of the Goldman Sachs executives, all the kids of the Goldman Sachs executives themselves, BlackRock. Put those motherfuckers on the front line. Update of Leave It talking about the draft.
Interesting exchange on Air Force One over the weekend, Carol. I want to get your take about this idea of troops on the ground. Mothers out there are worried that we're going to have a draft, that they're going to see their sons get in and daughters get in.
Why are you supporting a hacker from a terrorist organization in Turkey, which father is captured and everything is given to him to promote destructivism? I'm asking like Bulgarian. Wow. Oh my God, chat. An Eastern European is an Asmongold fan. Who could have predicted this? An Eastern European who's butthurt about the Ottoman Empire 100 years fucking ago is a supporter of Asmongold. Who could have seen this coming? Would fight with this dudes from 600 years. You know that the Sultan Osman invent the corruption in government positions. The Ottomans invented corruption. The most Bulgarian position I've ever seen. Oh, fuck, that's funny. Holy shit. Holy fuck. Oh my god, thank god. Holy shit, thank you. See, chat, those are Asmongold's fans. He doesn't have American fans. He has Eastern European borscht slurpers. Jesus Christ, that's amazing.
Involved in this. What do you want to say about the president's plans for troops on the ground? As we know, it's been largely an...
Should we have mandatory service for all citizens like other countries have? Or should people's first experience in combat during a draft? I feel like mandatory service risks desensitizing people to actual war. It's been proven to be incorrect. That's been proven to be incorrect, bro. If anything, you fucking dumbasses who have no connection to the military are more likely to support wars because you see it like a video game. Is Asmongold connected to war? Is his father fight in wars? Did his mother serve in the military? Asmongold doesn't feel like there's any risk that he'll be drafted, right? So come on. If anything, it's been a complete and political. It was a complete failure. The libertarian ideal is wrong. Whatever a libertarian supports that idea, you should probably reconsider your position if you agree.
air campaign up until now.
It has been, and it will continue to be, and President Trump wisely does not remove options off of the table. I know a lot of politicians like to do that quickly, but the president, as commander-in-chief, wants to continue to assess the success of this military operation. It's not part of the current plan right now, but the president, again, wisely keeps his options on the table. But as commander-in-chief, there's no greater priority or responsibility to this president than, of course, protecting the American people and protecting our troops and our bases in the Middle East, which Iran has been threatening for 47 years. They have killed and maimed thousands of American soldiers.
Not true.
And President Trump was not going to allow Iran to
like
Asmongold's father was a veteran and an Hasan fan. Okay, that makes more sense. That explains a lot. That explains a lot. Thank you for informing me about that. I'm surprised, but it doesn't seem like Asmon-Dad's viewpoints really rubbed off on Asmongold too much. I think he was living with his mom, who was listening to Alex Jones all day, right? So I think it seems like it doesn't seem like Asmon-Dad's takes really rubbed off on Asmongold much. He was more of a mama's boy.
They say Iran has killed and maimed thousands of American soldiers. This is the new meta.
My theory is Asmon's dad was ashamed of his son. I mean, obviously they were, but it doesn't matter. I'm sure he loved his son, right? I'm sure he loved his son. It's his own flesh and blood. I just feel like he didn't have much of an impact on him. Seems like Asmon was more of a homebody with his mom, who, as far as I know, didn't work. Did she work? What was her job? He's more of a mama's boy. She was disabled. She smoked cigarettes full time. Yeah, I think that sounds about right. He probably loved the idea of his son more than his actual son. Yeah, of course.
I mean, everything is a lie, obviously. Lying is OP. There's no way to combat it, really. And no one, especially no one on the Maria Bartiromo show, is going to combat the lies coming from this administration. But, like, that's been a fascinating development in American propaganda, where they just have decided that every Al-Qaeda, every Taliban, every ISIS death is actually still Iran. It reminds me, yeah. Now, when she says, like, Iran has been responsible for deaths, it's true. It's just they've been responsible for deaths in this bombing campaign, because ever since America and Israel started bombing Iran, Iran started bombing back. And that's when they killed a bunch of American troops. So it's crazy. It reminds me of what they did with the fentanyl deaths, where Trump was like, oh, all the immigrants are responsible for, tens of millions of Americans dying. And they were like, what the f are you talking about? And he's like, well, they did. That's what I'm saying. It's like, no, that's not how that works at all. It's overwhelmingly American citizens that are trafficking from regular points of entry into the United States of America. So no, you're stupid and you're wrong. I mean, he knows he's lying. Yeah,
I know his mom was really sweet to the people she knew. Who gives a shit? People have this idea that good person means nice to me. That's how most people define good person, by the way. A good person is somebody who hasn't done anything mean to me yet, right? And a bad person is someone who has not helped me get my goals achieved. That's how most people define good person, bad person. And I am not one of those people. I think you're a good or bad person based on what you do in the world. I absent backbone recently. And there you have it, chat. Like, Asmongold, the number one thing you can say about Asmongold is that he's desperate for attention and he doesn't believe in anything. And really, it's all about interacting with people that do care about shit and trying to push their button. And he can't even really do that well. You know, like, I'm not really concerned that Asmongold is going to get involved with some congressional candidates and be their big boosters. You know what I mean? Like, I'm much more concerned with somebody like Nick Fuentes. You know, somebody who has at least a little bit of charisma, a little bit of intelligence, a little bit of the ability to project their worldview and influence things. Asmongold, to me, is probably the least scary person on the entire fucking planet. She was an Alex Jones follower. Oh yeah, and Asmongold's mom was listening to Alex Jones like in 2004. Like, yeah, I understand. I understand. She's or 2014 or whatever the fuck. She is a MAGA crypto proto-fascist. Who gives a fuck? All right. I mean, and that's where Asmongold gets his politics. It's from mommy. It's not that complicated. Nick and Alex Jones are making a pretty hard grift pivot lately. Yeah, Donald Trump is like, his positions are going to be unpopular with the base of even the Republican Party. So Nick Fuentes and Asmongold are making those pivots. Or excuse me, Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones are making those pivots. Asmongold is too stupid. They are nice to me as a major issue, especially with men being friends with assaulters going, well, he's nice to me. Yeah, I know. That's what kind of, it's frustrating for me because I have had that, you know, position against guys like that for a long time. And unfortunately, that's the boys club. Asmon is either too stupid or too well. Oh, he's too stupid. See, Asmongold only goes off of what his algorithm is showing him. Now, this is why Asmongold is so funny. He's dumb. He doesn't like, it's incredible, but the reality is he's not aware that there's been a bifurcation of algorithms since Elon Musk bought Twitter. He thinks that the algorithms are expressions of organic positions. And what's happened is the Zionists and the fascists have knowingly distorted algorithms and they've created bubbles for the right. So he's trapped in a right-wing, pro-Trump bubble, and he thinks that's what the internet looks like for everybody else. He's too dumb to understand that that's not what's happening. And because he's stupid, and so he doesn't take information out of that kind of context of his own bubble, right? He doesn't go and look at polling. He doesn't trust polling. He doesn't understand polling. He doesn't go and look at the internet from the position of other algorithms. He never leaves his house, so he's not having regular conversations with normal people. He's not having random chance conversations. He's not talking to bartenders. He's not talking to waitresses. He's not talking to like people out, and about, right? He's not having those encounters with people. He doesn't go up to a bar and talk to all the patrons at the bar. He doesn't go to game stores to play Magic the Gathering. He doesn't do anything with normal people. He has no chance encounters. He has no random encounters. So he's completely out of touch, in a bubble, sits at home all day. So he's incapable of understanding what is really happening or how sentiment is changing. He's not very bright. All right, the foreign minister of Iran commenting on the war.
Fred Pleitkin is reporting in Tehran. He has an exclusive interview now with Kamal Ahara-Asi, who is the foreign policy advisor to the Supreme Leader. CNN is operating in Iran with the permission of the Iranian government, but maintains full editorial control over what it reports. Have a look at this.
Iran has a new supreme leader. What does that mean for your military effort and the confrontation with the United States and Israel?
That means the system is quite functioning.
So the United States says it's drastically degraded the Iranian military, the capabilities as far as missiles is concerned, drones is concerned. How much longer can you do this?
That is one of the false narratives that the United States government is producing. Iranian military is quite strong, as you see, because they have the motivation, they have the arms that they need, which are produced in Iran. As a matter of fact, we are not dependent on any other country for weapons and arms.
So your side is ready for a long war if the United States and Israel choose that. Do you consider this an existential threat to the Islamic Republic?
It is an existential threat to the Islamic Republic, and therefore we have to stay with full might, as we are doing now.
Is your side seeking, or will you seek, a ceasefire with the United States at this point in time, and with Israel?
I don't see any room for diplomacy anymore, because Donald Trump has been deceiving others and not keeping with his promises. And we experienced it in 2 times of negotiations.
By the way, this is one of the things that the fascists did quite a lot in the 30s, especially in Italy and Germany, which is make diplomacy unusable. If you're constantly assassinating and killing diplomats, if you're constantly bombing embassies, if you're constantly doing perfidy where you trick people who try to have peaceful discussions with you and you murder them, right? If you do your best to humiliate and embarrass anybody who tries to engage in diplomacy, you make diplomacy look like a joke. And that's what the United States is trying to do. The United States, like Trump is not just trying to do crimes. And this is what a lot of liberals and leftists don't seem to understand. Like, let's imagine that AOC is president in 2028. Who's going to want to sign treaties with AOC? So what, a Republican gets into office and they just break all the agreements you make? Thank you. Thank you, Vio. So that's the entire plan. The cats, they're mad because Vio came in and she gave me the hand pies again. Strawberry pistachio hand pie. Ooh. Thank you, Vio. And so that's kind of the plot of this, which is make the United Nations a joke, make diplomacy a joke. And so even if left-wing president does come into office, who's going to believe them? Who's going to trust the United States? Who's going to make themselves vulnerable? Who's going to disarm? If I'm China, if I'm any country in the world that disagrees with the most right-wing Republican, I'm building nukes immediately. If I'm South Africa, I'm building nukes. If I'm Brazil, I'm building nukes. If I'm Mexico, I'm building nukes. If I'm Colombia, I'm building nukes. If I'm Indonesia, I'm building nukes. I think a lot of people don't understand that if you are a middle power in this world right now, you should be building nukes right away. Bro, that sounds like a lot of work. Nukes are not that hard. You just have to, they're not actually that hard to make. You just need to refine the uranium. That's the hard part. It's not even hard. It's just something that people notice because you have to build centrifuges, and that means a large facility. It's not that hard to actually do. It's not complicated to do. It's just something that requires investment that people could detect. And up until this point, most people thought it wasn't necessary because the United States was pretending to respect sovereignty of states. But now that the United States is saying sovereignty doesn't matter, we'll just do whatever we want all over the world. Well, if you're a middle power, you have to build a nuclear weapon immediately to defend your own sovereignty. Trump says he won't sign anything until his SAVE Act is passed. Why is the Iranian guy a dead rigger for Dr. Breen? Because he's an old white man, or excuse me, he's an old, Middle Eastern olive-skinned man with a white, short-trimmed beard, which is what Dr. Breen looks like.
That while we were engaged in negotiation, they struck us.
How does all of this end then? If you say right now there's no room for negotiation, President Trump says he wants complete surrender. What does that lead to?
There's no room unless...
I mean, if I were the Iranians, what I would be doing is I would be striking as many of the American allied Arab states as possible, especially all their military facilities. And I would be sending propaganda to the populations of those states saying, we have no interest in harming you. Your government is in the pockets of Israel. And I would be sending them videos of murdered Arab children from Gaza and murdered Persian children from Iran. And I would say, throw off the shackles of American Israeli domination, rise up. And I would be funding and supporting groups within those countries that might rebel, because popular sentiment in the Middle East is not in favor of the United States and Israel. Popular sentiment in the Middle East is all in favor of the people fighting those nations. They're disgusted by the genocide in Gaza. The only group of people that are willing to talk to Israel are American puppet governments in the Middle East. And I would be fomenting revolution as much as I could. That's the reality. And I would force the Arab states into a confrontation. And that's why ladies and gentlemen, is why the Arab states are not trying to fight Iran right now. It isn't because the Arab states are moral or some shit. Saudi Arabia was bombing Yemen nonstop. They don't give a shit. It's more that they're scared of their own people. They're scared of their own people. Now that Iran has the ability to disrupt the economy of these countries, that's what they're worried about. And there is a large population of groups in Iran. There's a lot of Shia Muslims within Iran, within Middle Eastern countries that are disposed toward the Iranian government, who see the assassination of an 87-year-old religious cleric as a personal religious affront. So this is the type of shit we're talking about. This is the reality. Mike, I'm high on Hopia, but I want this to be true so bad. The Iranian foreign minister says Iran does not want to harm ordinary Americans who overwhelmingly voted to end involvement in costly foreign wars. Blame for surging gas prices, costlier mortgages, and pummeled 401ks lies squarely with Israel and its dupes in Washington. This is a sophisticated messaging by the Iranian military.
You can lament the demise of a sense of having to respond to the people because Trump doesn't even bother to sell the war, and the Democratic opposition, or at least the leadership of the so-called Democratic opposition, is...
It looks like the Iranians are actually doing quite a lot of damage to U.S. facilities.
Is secretly in favor of this war and just are complaining about the process in which we got into it. I'm not going to comment as to whether you should have gone to war, but you certainly should not have worn your khaki shirt while you did it. It should have been more all over the lot. Forest green. But at least we can thank goodness that, this is number 7, we have a competent media, not one that's owned by, a CBS, where you have the head of CBS News cheering on the war. I mean, not even cheering on people who are cheering on the war on Twitter. I mean, it's amazing what Barry Weiss has been doing. And
the people she's had on.
No, she tweeted a fire emoji because there was some Iranian diaspora that CBS put on air who said, "Mr. Mamdani, you are more than welcome to come to one of my safe houses." And she responded with,
she's been targeted by the Iranian regime. But I will say, when I watched that clip, I thought it was like a Saturday Night Live sketch. I honestly thought it was. But the chief of the news at CBS should not be doing a fire emoji just because one of her guests is attacking Mamdani. But we still have, yes, CBS, yes, TikTok, yes, potentially Warner Brothers and HBO and CNN could go down the tube. But at least we still have NBC. And listen to this interview they did with the Iranian foreign minister. I honestly, if I was a producer of this show, I'd be like, dude, are you having a stroke?
I really think that middle schoolers understand the laws of war more than seemingly these anchors.
But it's just the amount of propaganda that they embody. They're not. Here's the amazing thing. I don't think these hosts are doing this on purpose. I think it's honestly just reflexive, which is the amazing thing.
They can't do anything else.
Watch this.
You committing that Iran is not and will not build missiles that would have the capability to reach the United States?
I can confirm, yes.
Sir, if that's a red line for you, why is attacking U.S. military bases abroad justified?
But because they are attacking us. They are U.S. military, installations, facilities, bases who are attacking us. We are under attack. Why don't you, recognize this fact?
This is the thing about Americans. Americans are like, we're allowed to attack you. Why are you attacking us back? With a straight face, Americans will say this. And this is the result of Americans not suffering consequences. And obviously, I don't want any American killed, right? I don't want any regular American killed, right? That's how I feel right now, obviously. However, when you attack a country under the American flag, that country is going to retaliate against things that are flying the American flag. All right? So if you're on a U.S. warship or a U.S. flagship or a U.S. military base or whatever, or an organization affiliated with the United States government, and you're within the range of an Iranian proxy, you are vulnerable, and your government caused that vulnerability. That's just what's going to happen, right? If the United States of America launched a war on China, I would not be sailing on an American warship within the range of Chinese missiles, because I would understand that they had the right to defend themselves, and I represent the state of the government that is attacking them. So this is just basic common sense.
Under the attack by U.S. forces in the region. So we have every right to defend ourselves. And how to defend ourselves? We attacked, the U.S. bases. This is obvious. This is a very simple fact, and I hope that, and I'm sure that people would understand that. We are not the one who attacked Americans. We are only defending ourselves.
You committing that Iran...
Okay, I mean, this is... So they get the commitment from Iran that we're not looking to build missiles that can deliver a nuclear weapon. All I can tell you is that I remember as a kid hearing that Israel's ambassador to the U.S., Abba Eban, I think his name was, had a British accent. And when he would come on and speak about like conflicts with with different Arab states, he was just like so well spoken that it was very easy for like the American white audience to be like, oh yeah, no, of course we know. I mean, if this dude had an American accent and was asked that question,
yes,
it would just be like,
oh my God, Lindsey Graham has just made a post. Let me finish chewing.
Is this a joke?
I mean, that's what Edward Said wrote about with Orientalism, which is like this view. I mean, they're either there to be noble savages or they're there to just take it.
I mean,
that's literally what they're saying.
How do you ask? Let's hear this question again. How do you ask? Why are you bombing our bases in the midst of being attacked?
It's really racist. It is racist. That's what this is.
Do you want to see Dave Rubin talk?
Well, no, I want to see this again. Yeah. Yeah.
You committing that Iran is not and will not build missiles that would have the capability to reach the United States?
I can confirm, yes.
Sir, if that's a red line for you, why is attacking U.S. military bases abroad justified?
Because they are attacking us. They are U.S. military, installations, facilities, bases who are attacking us. We are under attack. Why don't you, recognize this fact? We are under the attack by you.
We don't need to finish it, I guess.
Yeah, but the frustration that you must feel if you're not English is not your first language, and he obviously speaks English very well, but you don't know how to react to something so unbelievably absurd.
Yeah,
like he's like working his way to like, wait a second, wait, what?
He had to restrain himself because the idea, by the way, Iranian restraint is the only reason we're not in World War III, and that goes back to Trump 1.0 with the Soleimani and their restraint.
I mean, like, honest to God, I think that restraint was a mistake. Objectively, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, Mike, I'm literally Monday morning quarterbacking, and I don't mean this as an insult to anybody, but I'm just saying that very clearly the Iranians should have developed a nuclear weapon just like North Korea. I don't know if you guys saw, but North Korea has just had train service renewed between North Korea and China. Trade service that had been cut off during the pandemic. And North Korea's economy has had the strongest 3 years going back decades. Basically, North Korea's international isolation for developing a nuclear weapon has ended. They have a pro diplomacy president in South Korea. Their economy is expanding. They are trading more with China and Russia. Regular trade service between China and North Korea has resumed. They have successfully resisted the United States. Period. There was, 10, 15 years ago, it wouldn't have been considered plausible until they developed themselves a nuclear weapon. I'm sorry. 25 years ago would have seemed like that organization was collapsing, or North Korea was collapsing, until they developed themselves a nuclear weapon. And every single thing since then, like the North Koreans saw the way that the US invaded Iraq, and they immediately said, we need to build ourselves a nuke right fucking now. And they did. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the wisest geopolitical decision of any American, any pariah of the international order or regime stability. Now nobody wants to fuck with North Korea. Had Iran developed a nuclear weapon, honestly, sanctions would probably be over at this point. The Iranian government would probably not even have sanctions on it at this point. And there would probably be some sort of comprehensive peace deal. Why? Because it wouldn't have been considered viable to attack Iran. It would have been considered too risky. But because Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon, we are now facing this war. And the war is expanding because the United States has the dumb fucking idea that they're going to be able to conventionally attack the Iranian government and win. For some reason, they think this is going to work. Had there been a nuclear weapon, the consequences would have been obvious. So instead, we're going to have to go through a long process of suffering diffuse consequences over the period of decades to come to a conclusion that would have been obvious had Iran developed a nuclear weapon. The moderates in Iran, including Khomeini, who argued that they shouldn't get nuclear weapons in favor of international law and diplomacy, have been proven wrong. And by the way, this is not my point of view. This is not my argument. This is just the argument of history. Okay, I'm not saying it's good that nuclear proliferation is happening. In fact, I hate nuclear weapons. I wish they were fucking banned. But the reality is that they've now created the environment where nuclear weapons proliferation is not only good for most states, it's objectively the right decision to ensure your borders. If we're in a world of might makes right, you need the ultimate I win button, which is nuclear weapons. You need to be able to say to any state that might attack you, I may not be able to beat your army on the field, but I could detonate a nuclear bomb in your capital. And that's just the reality of what's happened now. Donald Trump has destroyed the idea that the world superpowers would be constrained by international law and diplomacy and treaties. And it's just might make right. So every single country in the world who has the capability to get nukes, which is pretty much every country, to be honest with you, should do it and will do it. Unification Ministry to pursue peace declaration for turning armistice into peace regime. The new South Korean government is officially trying to sign a peace treaty with North Korea. There is no peace treaty between North Korea and South Korea right now. I don't know if you guys know this, but there is a ceasefire, an armistice. The Unification Ministry said Friday it will pursue a peace determination designed to express the political will to end the 1950 to 1953 Korean War in a bid to seek the transition of the current armistice into a peace regime. The ministry unveiled the plan in a report in the National Assembly as President Lee Jae-myung vowed all-out efforts to turn the armistice into a peace regime to ease inter-Korean tensions during a speech marking the 107th anniversary of the March 1st independence movement. The government will seek the peace declaration that reflects the political will to end the Korean War and kick off discussions for the establishment of a peace regime, including the signing of a peace treaty. The ministry said in the report to the Parliamentary Committee on Foreign Affairs and Unification. The two Koreas are technically at war as the Korean War ended with an armistice, not a peace treaty. The ministry said the peace declaration is a multilateral political declaration that will involve South Korea, the signatories of the armistice agreement, the United States, North Korea, and China, to express the will to end the war. Like this is reality. They got nukes, and the result is peace discussions. Iran did peace discussions and got war.
Their response there. I guess, does Iran have the right to defend itself, or are they just supposed to just lay down and take it from our rapist
How can
president?
you justify firing missiles when we've only fired hundreds of missiles at you at this point? Don't you? Right. You have to wait until we hit 1,000. What's the rule? Isn't it like we got to drop 1,000 bombs on you before you can say? It's just
We dropped a bomb on a school with a bunch of little girls. They don't have the ability to punch.
But we intended to hit a bad guy with it.
They don't have. They should be like just accepting that very premise and not retaliating against U.S. military personnel and bases here. It's amazing the level of arrogance.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.
And that's kind of the problem is America is arrogant. And why shouldn't they be? Mike, I'm only 3 months away from the Order of Romeo. Hell yeah, brother. Why shouldn't they be? Why shouldn't they be? They haven't suffered the consequences. Similar to how Great Depression limited Western intervention in the Russian Civil War, do you think the collapse of the global economy would limit U.S. intervention in Iran? Well, I don't think that we're there yet. I don't think we are there yet. I think there is a lot of belief that the United States and Europe will be able to open the strait. I think there's still a lot of belief that they'll be able to sail, and that I think the plan is basically for the United States and to guarantee to basically give free insurance to any oil tanker that sails to the Strait of Hormuz, basically nationalize maritime insurance. And then, you know what, you hire a bunch of like Indian sailors, and the Americans don't care if Indian sailors get killed on these tankers, right? You offer these guys very high salaries. They come from poverty. They're willing to take the risk. I think that's the plan. And until the Iranians sink like a lot of oil tankers, I think fundamentally that's going to be the plan. Mike, I just hit 61 months. One more 666. Thank you for the Order of Romeo. Chat, by the way, we have a hype train. Look at that. Would you look at that? The rest of the house is a shithole. Obviously, they don't know you. Your bathroom and living rooms are shitholes. Hey, son, fuck you. Looking at some old Asmon dad messages in Mold's channel. Chaotic, thank you for the 10 tier 1s. I mean, that's so funny. I would be so fucking embarrassed. Holy shit, dude. Well, the oil companies are getting nationalized insurance before we do. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Oil eases after topping $110 as G7 countries are going to release their strategic reserves.
To get the prices of oil up that the president would have to draw from the conflict. So just careful, guys.
Right. And he said they should go to strategic oil reserve. That's what Joe Biden did to get prices down without a crisis. The administration announced $20 billion maritime.
Eric asked Oliver the Taiwan question. He did not disappoint. So did I, motherfucker. So did I. He went on my channel first, motherfuckers. Oh, the Lindsey Graham tweet. Thank you. Hold on, let's finish this.
Reinsurance plan. So he's saying, hey, guys, even though we get the oil, the market's flush, this is fear, I'm still going to insure your ships, so go through the strait. And
Hammond Fist, thank you for the 20. All right, chat, we have a hype train going on. If you enjoy this content, if you support having a left-wing stream that doesn't rely on advertisers, that doesn't have, like, listen, there's not a bunch of money for left-wing political commentary. The only way these types of streams can survive is if you support them by subscribing. So please consider supporting the stream by subscribing. Dubai has an influencer pet abandonment crisis. They are euthanizing their pets and flying out. What the fuck? Please give me some reporting on that, MP Sharky.
And, you know, that's just part of it. If you want to diminish the Iranian threat, if you want to make sure that this ends up...
Just bring your pet. Not that hard to bring your pet, but cross borders. You go take them to the vet. They get checked out by a vet. The vet signs a letter. You get it translated to whatever language of the country you're going to, and your pet can pass customs. What the fuck? It's not even that hard.
With complete Iran capitulation, so
thank you, Hammond Fist, for the gifties.
And
Chaotic, thank you for the 10. You guys are the best.
Oil up that the president would have to draw from the conflict.
Not every pet is a dog. You could do the same. What are they bringing? Fucking? Are they bringing? Do they have tigers as pets or something? Like what the fuck?
Just careful, guys.
Right. And he said they should go to strategic oil reserve. That's what Joe Biden did to get prices down without a crisis. The administration announced $20 billion maritime reinsurance plan. So he's saying, hey, guys, even though we get the oil, the market's flush, this is fear, I'm still going to insure your ships, so go through the strait. And, you know, that's just part of it. If you want to diminish the Iranian threat, if you want to make sure that this ends up with complete Iran...
Some countries require rabies titer testing that takes weeks to get results. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Is the U.S. one of those countries? I don't think so.
Capitulation, sow some guts and go through that strait and do it.
If they could get the prices of oil up,
Stevie baby, thank you for the 5 tier 1s.
Draw from the conflict. So just careful, guys.
Right. And he said they should go to strategic oil reserve. That's what Joe...
Show some guts, guys. All right, chat. This tweet from Lindsey Graham this morning, I just replied to this. Let me go on my profile. I'll show you what I said. I said, this to me is the first real tangible signs that the U.S. empire is beginning to collapse. If you are Saudi Arabia, the way that this war was carried out is incompatible with a stable international order. They weren't even consulted. Incredible work by the dumbest empire ever. Now, if you've been following my commentary, I stay away from cope. I'm not a coper, right? Like, through the entire Gaza genocide, I never coped. You know, I told you that they very well may be able to carry out this genocide. And I didn't say that because I wanted it to happen. I said it because I want you to have a real grounded analysis of geopolitical reality, which includes the fact that bad guys win sometimes. That profile picture looks nothing like me. I mean, yeah, I should update it to my newest. Funnily enough, Oliver posted one of my newer photos when we did the interview. Hold on, I have to scroll. God, I post too much on this stupid website. Did I retweet it or did I just like it? Fuck. Okay, I may have just liked it. God damn it. Also, how much did we end up giving for Oliver Larkin? We ended up raising... Oh, fuck. Jesus fucking Christ. Holy Jesus Christ. I almost had a heart attack. Holy fuck. I almost had a heart attack. Jesus Christ. I gotta log out of ActBlue. Okay, where are we at? Yeah, see, Oliver posted the more recent photo of me. Somebody was saying that my other camera was like squished. I don't know why, right? Like I don't know why it looks squished on the other one. Oh, weird. Tell me if there's a difference, chat. Oh, huh. Why the fuck is this all weird? I feel like this is the one that's wrong. How is this? It's like, I feel like this is the more accurate one. I'm like a squatter here, but this, I think this is actually right. This one's actually right. And this one's the wrong one. Why the fuck is it like this? The wider one is the stretched one. This is the one that's stretched. I don't know why it's stretched. The fuck? How long have we been watching Squished Mike? For a long time. I don't. All right, hold on. Let me look at the, sorry for taking the time to figure this out. Let me look at the settings and see if they're any different between the two forms. Okay. They are literally the same. I don't get it. You may not have constrained proportions when moving the source around. Try resetting the transformation. Where the fuck is the transformation at? Select the camera and hit Control F. Okay, let's try the other one. Maybe Big Mike is the one that's transformed. Doesn't appear to cause a difference. It's easy to have a make a nuke and a hard time with the camera. So true. Like, this is the correct camera because it is filling the entire screen. This camera is not correct. It is not filling the entire screen. It's squish. All right, I'll have to figure it out on my own time, chat. Sorry about that. And click reset. Oh, hold on. Reset transform. Okay, that makes sense. I also had to, like, there you go. We did it. We did it. We did it. All right. Boom. Slender. This is more correct. Yeah, this is this is the correct mic. My streamer is wider. No, that was a fake mic. I never noticed. Sorry about that. I was having the camera make me look fatter for no reason, I guess. Whoops. I don't know how that happened. Honest to God. Now you look like TikTok Mike. Yeah. Just you did. Did you lose weight? Yes, I lost 10 pounds this weekend. This is a picture Vio took of me in her room. You look weird now. This is how I actually look. You look like a vegan once upon a time. Why are there less reports about damage while Iran keeps launching? Bahrain prosecutors are now seeking death penalty charges for citizens accused of photographic damage from Iranian attacks. Bahrain's public prosecution is seeking the death penalty for defendants accused of high betrayal, alleging they photograph locations where photography is prohibited. This is why you're not seeing, that's why you're not seeing videos like this, which is a American Patriot missile battery misfiring, which fired a rocket into a residential area, which wounded 34 people and killed, I think it killed a few. I'm sorry, it injured 32. A lot of Americans think, you know, it'd be fun in video games if they just had a misfire rate. They need to add more of a misfire rate in every video game. Like, one of the things about, even in the simulations, the weapons are too reliable. Like, we need to start making video games more annoying. Like, we need to make more misfires, more failures to target. We need more random, because like people think of weapons as completely in connection with your will when the universe isn't that simple. More guns jamming, more missiles that don't target. I want you to fail more from random chance. Okay, now we're on the Lindsey Graham tweet. We fixed my camera. Now we can talk about the Lindsey Graham tweet, which I said, to me, this is the first real tangible signs that the U.S. empire is beginning to collapse. If you are Saudi Arabia, the way that this war was carried out is incompatible with a stable international order. They weren't even consulted. So Lindsey Graham, neocon extraordinaire, says the American embassy is being evacuated in Riyadh because sustained attacks by Iran against the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It is my understanding the kingdom refuses to use their capable military as part of an effort to end the barbaric and terrorist Iranian regime who has terrorized the region and killed 7 Americans. Question: why should America do a defense agreement with a country like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that is unwilling to join a fight of mutual interest? Americans are dying, and the U.S. is spending billions to dislodge the terrorist Iranian regime that threatens the region. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia seems to be issuing statements and doing things in the background that are marginally helpful, but unwilling to participate in military operations to end the reign of terror coming out of Iran. Hopefully, Gulf Cooperation Council countries will get more involved, as this fight is in their backyard. If you're not willing to use your military now, when are you willing to use it? Hopefully this changes soon. If not, consequences will follow. So, to me, this is a sign that the American empire is collapsing. And the reason why is the United States is no longer interested about realities on the ground. They are now in Delulu land. The reason why Saudi Arabia is not fighting Iran is not because they are scared to fight Iran. It's because they're scared of their own people. And for the longest time, these Arab states that are American puppets have played this fake game of being against Israel. Saudi Arabia doesn't even recognize Israel as a real country. Do you know that? And why doesn't Saudi Arabia recognize Israel as a real country? Because they can't. Because their people are so against Israel that if they try, they're worried there might be a revolution. The Arab countries hate Israel. And when I say countries, I mean the people. They see it as a genocidal state murdering their Arab cousins. So the reason why Saudi Arabia is not part of this attack on Iran is because it would mean a direct alliance with Israel. Now they can stand back and say like, hey, the United States and Israel attacked Iran. We had nothing to do with it. Well, by Iran attacking them, it shows the contradiction, because no one in Saudi Arabia is protesting against Iran. They're not going like, fight Iran, fight Iran. The Saudi people are not coming out and say we want to fight Iran. And you know how I know that? One of the biggest pro-American sheiks in the UAE just came out and made a post earlier today. Hopefully I didn't close it because it's very important. Fuck. Shit. I had this thing. Oh no. Fuck me. No. Oh, here it is. Wait. Okay. Khalif Ahmad Al-Habtour said, I heard the statements of U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham in which he calls on the Gulf Cooperation Council countries to enter this war, saying that we are also under attack and we must join the fight. And I say to him clearly, we know full well why we are under attack. And we also know who dragged the entire region into this dangerous escalation without consulting those he calls his allies in the region. We thank God that the United Arab Emirates and the Gulf Cooperation Council countries are doing well, and we have no need for someone who claims he came to the Middle East to save us. The truth is that hasty American decisions are what embroiled the region in a war whose people were not party to its decision making, and its local allies were not consulted before it was launched. We do not deny the Iranian threat to the region, which has become clear in recent days. We do not trust Iran. But this is a dirty game in which several powers clash at the expense of our region, with no honor in it and no transparency. In this scene, Iran, Israel, and the United States all move according to their own desires, not according to the interests of the peoples of the Middle Eastern Arab countries. By the way, this is one of the most pro-American figures in the Middle East, by the way, just so you know. And for this reason, we say it clearly, we will not enter this war to serve the interests of others. Nor will we sacrifice our sons in a conflict that could have been avoided through diplomacy and political solutions. We value the lives of our sons, and we do not treat their souls as collateral damage as some do. Nothing in this world is more precious than the lives of our sons, and no alliance with any country in the world is worth risking these lives. If President Donald Trump and Senator Graham are prepared to risk their country and the lives of Americans for Israel's interests, that is their choice. As for us, we will not do the same. Senator Graham says they are the Arabs' allies and that we need and benefit from U.S. protection. And I say to him, we do not need your protection. All we want from you is to keep your hands off of us. He also says we sell you weapons as if that were a service the United States provides us. The truth is that this is no favor from anyone. We invested our security and pay billions of dollars for these weapons, and it is a massive trade and industry built on these deals. In fact, the United States itself is now trying to buy weapons from Ukraine to supply its allies in other wars. This is an industry that thrives on wars and arms sales, not a charitable endeavor. Okay, bro. Zine, I think you're having a mental breakdown. Take an hour off. And the clearest thing of all is what Senator Graham himself said when he spoke about oil. He stated that Iran and Venezuela hold 31% of global oil reserves, and that the United States could establish a partnership with this share of the world's oil, and that would be a nightmare for China. He even added that if the regime in Iran changes, there would be a new Middle East, and the United States would, quote, make a lot of money. Only then does the picture become clear, and only then do we understand why they want this war. Finally, I say to Lindsey Graham, you may be a senator in the U.S. Senate, but anyone who hears your statements might think you're a member of the Israeli Knesset because you defend Israel's interests more than you defend the interests of the American people themselves. The peoples of our region have the right to live in security and stability far from others' wars. We also have the right to decide how to protect our interests and security and to emerge from crises we did not create, but which were imposed on us as a result of conflicts between powers vying for influence in this region. We want peace and stability. We will not accept being forced down the path of war, nor will we accept being fueled for others' battles. At Lindsey Graham, at POTUS, at Real Donald Trump. Now, again, as I said before, one of the most pro-American UAE oligarchs. Oh, they don't even have a they don't even allow them to have a Wikipedia. Oh my Jesus. Hezbollah is getting targets from anime Twitter and just took out a massive radar. Wait, what the fuck? New UAE statement. Despite being attacked by the Islamic Republic of Iran relentlessly over the past 8 days, the United Arab Emirates says it is not going to enter the war. The UAE's ambassador to the UN in Geneva said this to reporters. The UAE will not partake in any attacks against Iran from our territory, and we will not be involved in such a conflict. Yashir Alil is like the most pro-Iran war guy like I've ever seen. Like, this guy loves the war. He's like promoting the fuck out of the war. Kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you. So as I said, the reason why this is not because the UAE likes Iran. It's because their own people will revolt if they fight a war on behalf of Israel. And so they have this position. They had their own version of strategic ambiguity, right? Everybody knows that all these Arab countries are allies of Israel, right? But they have strategic ambiguity toward Israel so that they don't expose that reality to their own people and therefore get thrown out of power from a revolution, right? Similarly, everybody understands that the United States is using Taiwan as a proxy against the United States. But the United States maintains strategic ambiguity toward Taiwan in order to maintain a tenuous status quo. And that is the same way that the Arab countries are oriented toward Israel. So now Israel and the United States are trampling over that arrangement to fight a war on Iran without talking to these people first. And they would have told them, don't do a war on Iran. You're going to destroy the economy. You're going to force us to distance ourselves from you. You're going to undermine the very foundation of the American dominance in the Middle East. And that's what I said. This post, that is why I strongly consider the American empire to have taken the first real damage. Hezbollah missiles are now striking deep inside Israel and hit a satellite communication site.
הנה, תראו מה הולך. פגעו פה איך קוראים לזה? בצלחות. הנה.
And notice these attacks are on military targets. A senior Israeli official told the Washington Post, for fear of an endless war, there's thinking of ending the war without toppling the regime. Oh, they want to think they can end it now? They think they can end it now? Do you think they could just attack and assassinate Khomeini and then the war is just going to end? I mean, this is really it. But the problem is, like, The leader of Iran is now the son of the man who was assassinated. The Iranian people have suffered. They're gonna want revenge. Israeli officials are growing concerned. A bombing campaign nearing its military goals in Iran leaves the hardest questions unanswered. I'm sorry, folks, but like, if you're the Iranians, it's no longer viable to allow the Israelis to get peace now. Like, I'm sorry, but they need to do damage to the United States and Israel and have concessions, apologies, reparations. Like, I'm sorry, but there's no fucking way. If they're already saying they want the war to end, it's because their interceptors are running out. If you're the Iranians, you can't let the war end. There's no fucking way. I mean, maybe they will. I don't know. The Iranians have always tended to be very, very, very interested in de-escalation. They've always been trying to de-escalation. A few senior officials in Israel who, I love how the Washington Post and the mainstream media just says like unsourced, anonymous source bullshit to move the markets. It's suggesting possible exit ramps that might halt the war before it further damages the region and the global economy. Talk of an endgame is early, and the decision about whether to stop the attack rests largely with President Trump, who continues to seek all-out victory. But in a telephone conversation Sunday, a senior Israeli official familiar with the planning and strategy for the Iran war discussed alternatives to Trump's call for unconditional surrender. The official requested anonymity because of the sensitivity of the Iran situation. You know, if I'm the Iranians, you know what I do? I sink like 7 or 8 fucking oil tankers. That's what you do in response to that. Because the thing about the Iranians is the higher the oil prices go, the better for them. They're an oil exporter. Why the fuck? They enjoy it. Yeah, let the oil prices go up and then sell your oil to China. Reap the rewards. Yeah, we already covered this. Trump has wavered among several conceptions for the outcome. He spoke at first about a negotiated settlement with pliable members of the regime, but has since demanded surrender because he said his preferred negotiating partners are dead. Like Trump, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said he wants to press on what he described Saturday as the moment of truth. The disdain for negotiations expressed by Trump and Netanyahu may deepen after Sunday's announcement that Iran's new supreme leader will be Mojtaba Khomeini. I can never pronounce his name. I need to like study the names. God damn it. The son of the previous head of state who was killed in a massive airstrike on his compound February 28th, which was, by the way, just his house. They just bombed an 87-year-old man's house and killed him and his grandkids, including the new Khomeini's son and wife. So the grandchild of Khomeini was killed in this strike, which was just his house. Think about that. The new leader is a hardliner who, if anything, is even closer to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps that his father was, not a man for the bargaining table. What concerns this, and meanwhile, the UAE just announced they're not entering the war. The Gulf states have all said they're not entering the war, right? Like, all these guys have said they're not, like, so from my perspective, obviously Iran has taken horrible damage. But how could they come to the bargaining table after this, right? Like, they can't. Existential. The Israeli baseball team.
For the running game. A rise toward right center field, and this one is going to get down and to the wall. Acuna Jr. coming around third base.
Venezuela played Israel.
Here's the throw.
Absolutely.
Off the mark.
Fuck them up.
Gets away and a rise to third. A quick start for Team Venezuela. Base to control the running game. A rise toward right center field, and this one
is this good? Yeah, Venezuela absolutely fucked them up. Israeli soldiers running to the shelter following Hezbollah rocket missile impacts. I'm not sure it's in our interest to fight until the regime is toppled, said the Israeli official. Nobody wants a never-ending story. The official said the Israeli and American bombing campaign was nearing the point of achieving its military objectives. It was close to destroying what was left of Iran's nuclear program after U.S. bombardment. I thought we completely destroyed it. What happened?
Ya Allah, you!
Yeah, this was there was this multiple re-entry vehicle rocket that was fired at Israel. That specific video might be old. That's the thing about videos is they can be decontextualized. You know, they can be old. That's just something that you have to keep in mind. It's hard to be able to tell off of the rip what is what. That's why institutions are important. Where the fuck did my... All right, chat. We are currently at $23,000 raised for Oliver Larkin. How about we get that up to 25K even? What do you guys say? I already donated my 1,500, which was very painful. Let's get this up to 25,000. Now, just so you know how much money that is, a congressional campaign is considered serious if it raises at least $100,000 in the early primary period. If you get to $100,000 in the early primary period, people start thinking that your campaign is a serious campaign. So if we can get him to 25,000, we're getting him a quarter of the way there on our own, just this stream. So let's go ahead and see if we can donate a little bit more to Oliver Larkin. Let me throw the link in the chat. Throw him a couple $100 more bucks. And if you want to see how based he is, I don't know why you keep showing clips of not my interview, but okay, we'll watch this. I actually have, if you go to my channel on YouTube, I just uploaded the interview. We can say that Oliver represents the future of American politics as we have been campaigning for on this stream for 7 years.
I'm running as authentically myself. This is what I believe, that there's no message testing or any kind of convention that I'm trying to fit into. I will work to abolish ICE, end regime change in Latin America, end the genocide in Gaza, and reverse Trump's billionaire tax cuts so that we can invest in America. We have a government where we spend tens of billions of dollars sending our money to Israel to perpetuate this.
Okay. Hey, editors, just a quick tip. Okay, so listen, obviously we like Oliver Larkin, but we know who the fuck Oliver Larkin is. Okay, so I want you to imagine that you're someone who doesn't know who Oliver Larkin is. Why would you click on that person's name? Like, why would you want to know who the fuck Oliver Larkin is? Editors, I want you to imagine that you don't know everything about who Oliver Larkin is, and you're just some random guy, and you're like, huh, I have a lot of videos to click on. Why do I want to click on this video? Now, I'm not trying to be condescending asshole. I just am. And so I like Oliver Larkin. You like Oliver Larkin. How about put pro-Palestine, abolish ICE? You know, something, some sort of policy position or some sort of idea that would make somebody like Oliver Larkin. Just something. DSA candidate, whatever the fuck. Something that would make people like him. Because right now, all you have is he's the future and his name. That is honestly, a Democrat could say that. That a Republican could say that. There's really nothing there to hook people. I'm just saying. Something to think about with your titling. All right, where were we?
End the war on Iran.
Yes.
End American aid to Israel.
Yes, support.
Sanction Israel to stop the genocide in Gaza.
Yes, I support the BDS movement.
Medicare for all.
Yes, aye.
Banning members of Congress from trading stocks.
Aye, yes.
Implementing the Green New Deal.
Yes, absolutely.
Abolishing ICE.
Yes, and prosecuting.
That's the next one. Prosecuting ICE and Kristi Noem.
Yes, absolutely. And I would include in that the private prison contractors working with ICE.
Canceling student loan debt.
Absolutely, yes.
Recognize Taiwan as a part of China.
I'd support that. Yeah, the United States, this kind of arm's length militarily funding Taiwan, this belligerent kind of antagonistic approach.
First of all, that's the status quo. Before anybody who starts talking like they know what they're talking about, that's the status quo. The status quo is Taiwan is part of China. That's why it's called Chinese Taipei, because we have a one China policy. What that means is Taiwan is part of China. We all recognize that. Now, the question is, how should Taiwan be governed? And that's where the dispute comes over. You have an autonomous government right now, and the mainland wants to integrate Taiwan directly in with the rest of the country in a similar way that they did with Hong Kong, where they're not going to impose their governmental system on Taiwan all at once. It can maintain, its own economic system and kind of the status quo, but it will be formally recognized as part of China, right? That's what the goal of the Communist Party of China is toward Taiwan.
With one of our largest economic and trading partners, I think it's stupid. The United States cannot continue with this level of brinksmanship where we're constantly on the edge of war with so many people that are really, again, intertwined with our economy. So no,
now, Chad, I don't want to say that Oliver Larkin got his takes from me. However, I want to say that you could see the influence that Hasan and I are having on politics in America. Like, this is directly the result that somebody like Oliver is now a serious candidate is in part because of the influence that Hasan and I have had, humbly, on the American political sphere. I'm sure that I'm not saying that Oliver got his takes from me, but somebody like Oliver who agrees with me being a viable candidate is a sign of the influence of things like, you know, our section of the socialist left.
It's not our business. We should not be propping up a proxy state for the United States to, again, commit ourselves in stupid and insane military.
Hell yeah, dude. The only red flag I have with Oliver Larkin is the progressive victory grifters who are destiny orbiters are they're kind of like trying to jump on his coattails. That organization is fucking trash. And like they have no views and they're garbage. Maybe they blocked me. They might have blocked me because I was making fun of them and I ratioed them in a reply. So maybe they oh wait, hold on. No, they didn't. Oh, they stopped following me though. They were pathetically following me and tried to get me to like support their shit. This group is a fucking grift. Do not in any way interact. Do not support it. Do not work with it. It is trash. It's basically a pro-NATO fascist like Destiny front. And they paid people like Hutch and shit. Do not in any way support this organization. So the fact that, you know, I guess they endorsed him, I guess trying to get like clout from him. I don't know, but like get rid of these fucking people. And they were like, it's so based. See, look at this. They're trying to hang around me and Hasan. They're fucking garbage. Gavin Newsom is not a progressive. Retweeting Nikolai, who's a neoliberal. Amazing. Gross. There you go. Dylan Burns. This is causing a minor scandal among sections of the online left because a progressive pro-Palestine Gen Z candidate wants to deter a war over Taiwan and support Ukraine. Shows a hollowness and moral bankruptcy that it will need to reckon with eventually. Dylan Burns pro-Taiwan war repost. Calling us morally bankrupt because we want peace with Taiwan. Based. God, these fucking scum. Dylan Burns reposts. This fucking group is dog shit. Interacting with this group is almost enough to make me withdraw support from a candidate. Like, honest to God. Because, like, we don't need this kind of grifter bullshit around us. And it's literally a destiny front. Kind of disappointed Hasan chose to let it play out. I mean, listen, if she wins, then that'll be the right decision. But, you know, I don't have a lot of faith she's going to win. I guess we'll see. I hope she doesn't. You know, I'll be completely transparent with you. I hope she doesn't win. I don't want to have our space polluted by like literal CIA agent type people. I don't want that shit in our space, and it would be bad for us in the long run. Why would the Iranians be fazed by airstrikes? They fought a bloody ground war with Iraq for a decade. Like, you know, like they know. They're not like this is a civilization and a population that is very well accustomed to resisting. A Shanghai indie band made a song in support of Iran back during the first exchange. It's going viral now. Called Fireworks Over Israel. The music in support of the right of self-defense against Israel.
Fireworks in Israel's sky shattered the Iron Dome's lie. Who's the terror? Who's the foe? The world has clear eyes and will know. Pop in the bubble.
Okay, I gotta see this band performing live. Somebody show me this band performing live. Okay, until this band performs live, I'm gonna go ahead and set this aside. And I'm going to go over here back to this shit I was talking about that's a little bit more serious.
US and its allies have a problem, a drone problem. It's the kind of drones Iran is using. They're cheap and they're plentiful.
They're using these, what's being described as one-way attack drones that are very low cost, can be made in great numbers. They hide them and they're mobile, the launchers for these, and then they launch them.
Retired U.S. Vice Admiral Kevin Donegan has overseen operations in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Yemen.
You're seeing them used to hit hotels. You're seeing them used to hit oil infrastructure, gas infrastructure, you know, and airports, right?
This is Iran's weapon of choice, the Shahed 136. It cost about $20,000 to $50,000 to make. It's not an extremely complicated device. It uses GPS, it has an engine and a propeller. You may recognize the distinctive sound from videos like this attack on the capital of Bahrain. And with a range of up to 2,500 kilometers, a drone launched from Tehran could reach Mumbai or Athens. How do you defend such a large area with so many targets from this drone threat? Christopher Preble is with a global security think tank.
They are being intercepted by a range of things from the THAAD, Terminal High Altitude Air Defense System, the Patriot batteries, which have been around for a long time.
And here we get to the math, the critical cost differential of shooting cheap drones out of the sky. Each Patriot missile costs $4 to $5 million, and the THAAD interceptors run at least $12 million. Meanwhile, Iran is reported to have thousands of drones with potentially more on the way.
They are far easier to manufacture, of course, than a missile. They're smaller, for one thing, and so they can be. And we've seen this in the Ukraine war, how many new manufacturers have come online in the Ukraine to build a drone.
And how long does it take to restockpile the kind of high-end missiles that allies and America and Israel are using to knock these drones out of the sky?
That's a really good question. We know that the Trump administration is putting pressure on the manufacturers of these weapons to ramp up production. But I think as a realistic sort of prospect, we're talking about them increasing their production by hundreds, not by thousands.
The drones aren't perfect. They don't need to be.
So the interception rate is relatively high in the grand scheme of things. I've seen numbers north of 90%. And yet that 10% can cause a lot of damage, especially when you're hitting a relatively soft target. You know, it's almost like the defender has to be perfect and the attacker just has to be lucky.
For the moment, Washington is sending mixed messages about drones and defense.
They told us in that room that there are going to be more Americans that are going to die, that they are not in the short run going to be able to stop these drones that are going to continue to fly into the Middle East.
With respect to munitions, ammunition, weapon stockpiles, the United States of America has more than enough capability to not only successfully execute Operation Epic Fury, but to go much further.
Vice Admiral Donegan says the U.S. has a strategy to deal with the drones.
The U.S. knows what the Iranians have, so this plan was built around that knowledge.
Which includes going on offense.
And that's why they're doing offensive operations that are really designed to degrade, destroy not only the launchers, not only the missiles, but the command and control systems.
In just the last few hours, we hit an Iranian drone carrier ship, roughly the size of a World War II aircraft carrier. And as we speak, it's on fire.
But Preble says while Western...
They're basically bombing the Iranian military as it's docked. The Iranian Navy, you know, as it's docked. Which, you know, it is what it is. It's exactly what you would expect to happen.
Countries pile millions into expensive Air Force programs. They're fighting yesterday's wars.
Other countries around the world are either buying F-35s under pressure, in many cases from the United States, or they're developing their own fifth-generation fighters if they can. Again, I understand from a prestige perspective why countries want to have functioning air forces, but they are really undermining their long-term ability to sustain a defense capability, a defense infrastructure.
Without a doubt, Donegan says drones are here to stay, not just in Ukraine and the Mideast, but beyond.
I think the other way to look at this, Eli, is from the standpoint of, you know, how are terrorist organizations going to use this closer to home for all of us? Those that don't have great militaries or armies or whatever, these terrorist organizations, they can bring that to bear to add a complexity now of a drone that's a weapon involved in. We're going to see that. You know, you don't have to be a fortune teller to say that yeah. You know, we should be very concerned about it.
And the thing is, like, I don't think people are really reckoning with, and I don't think that even the markets are reckoning with the fact that the Iran war has been the largest oil supply disruption in history. Mike, why don't they use AA guns on slow drones? They do. They use the Phalanx system.
It's called the Phalanx Close-In Weapon System.
They have ones that have been put on like trucks now. They're not just a naval defense. They're also on, you know, that have been deployed.
And on a warship, the last line of defense, designed to neutralize incoming missiles and other immediate threats. Technologically advanced, radar-guided and computer-assisted, Phalanx is installed in many Royal Navy vessels. From Albion-class...
I think I saw one being used the other day. Yeah, here you go. This is from the green zone at the U.S. Embassy in Iraq. That's a different system. It's the exact same system, except one is on a ship and this is a dismounted system. You could also shoot down these drones with regular fighters. Missiles, unless they're developing these new like lower cost interceptor missiles for things like drones, but right now, like, you know, a Sidewinder or an AMRAAM are very expensive. Honestly, I'm surprised they aren't just shooting them down with 20mm cannon.
लो जी लाइव ड्रोन आया एक फट गया एक दाण लगा नहीं इंटरसेप्ट हुआ
I would not be on the beach. You know, chat, pro tip, if Shahid drones are flying over your head, you should probably be going to like an underground facility. Just something to keep in mind.
ये वाला नहीं इंटरसेप्ट हुआ ये जा रहा है अभी भी आगे और जो लगा है ना वो ये देखिए एक और आ रहा है नहीं ये प्लेन है ये प्लेन है ये प्लेन है ये प्लेन है ये प्लेन
It's hard to tell these days, chat. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell these days. Social media posts are hard to verify these days. Mike and Hasan vindicated you could just Temu them. But of course, I mean... Honestly, honestly, this looks a little bit too bespoke to me. Surprised they don't have an automated factory yet. You know what I mean? Like, this is pretty bespoke. A little workshop. Feels like you should have a fucking factory. Automated factory pumping these out. Get their prices down even lower. And the question that we really have to ask ourselves is, will the United States use tactical nuclear weapons on Iran? Because it seems that, you know, just based on reality, if you burrow in deep enough, we do not have conventional weapons that can penetrate. We just don't. And if the fissile material, like, you know, and if Iran is able to maintain possession of their fissile material, if they are able to continue to, you know, enrich, they could presumably build a nuclear weapon relatively soon. Because I don't know if you're, I mean, if I'm a Khomeini, I'm saying build the nuke right now. Build the nuke right now and test it. There's nothing that's going to stop the war more than that possibility.
Come death, the destroyer of worlds.
A flashing 352s moved to the UK within the past few days. I mean, these are also used to launch cruise missiles as well.
Light, hotter than the surface of the sun, turns air itself into a weapon. In Tehran, everything inside the fireball, buildings, pavement, people, is vaporized or converted into superheated debris. In Damascus, the thermal pulse ignites clothing, paper, fuel, trees, skin, anything flammable within the line of sight. In Beirut, concrete structures collapse. Glass becomes airborne shrapnel. Lungs rupture from overpressure. In Dubai, hundreds of separate fires begin merging into a single expanding firestorm. People 13 miles away are blinded by it. In less than 60 seconds, some of the most densely populated cities in the world become infernos. West Asia is burning. Tens of millions of people are dead on impact, and many millions more will die after that. Nuclear war is not measured in days or hours. It is measured in seconds. And today, there's only one country in the Middle East that can unleash this Armageddon. And it's not Iran. It's Israel. The atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki killed over 200,000 people by the end of 1945. Now, imagine a weapon that's the equivalent of 1,000 Hiroshima bombs, exploding all at once. A thermonuclear weapon uses an atomic bomb inside itself as its trigger. It is a two-stage mega weapon, a nuclear bomb within a nuclear bomb.
180 million degrees. The fireball on a 1 megaton nuclear weapon is 19 football fields of fire. Think about that. Nothing remains. Nothing remains.
It is a climate-altering, famine-causing, civilization-ending, genome-changing weapon. The mushroom cloud rises 5 miles into the sky, across every city in the Middle East. Radioactive debris begins to fall back to Earth as lethal fallout. If you didn't get the message, nuclear war is terrifying. It is genocide without any discrimination. Before we get to what's at stake, how did a small country like Israel get the bomb in the first place? In the 1950s, Israeli leaders concluded that conventional military power would never guarantee its survival. So Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion decided Israel needed something no other state in the region had: nuclear weapons.
Limmy's advice for what to do in the event the nukes start dropping: grab a gun and go. And go protest any organization associated with the things that drop the nuke. Is how you respond to a nuclear weapon being dropped. Remember, chat, we have the Second Amendment in America, so grabbing a gun is just defending your, is just exercising your Second Amendment rights. I would never tell you to use the gun unlawfully.
Happens to a city. Most of us live.
Look at how fucking miserable this is.
How effectively could we shelter from a nuclear weapon?
You cannot. You're fucked. You're gubbed. The best thing you can do during a nuclear bomb is get as fucking close under the thing as you can, so you're no fucking about dying.
Okay, here. Let me just say this. If that's your attitude, you should just pop it. You should just do it yourself. You should just do yourself in, okay? You don't want to die of radiation poisoning. If your attitude is, I'm done, I'm checking out, then you should just check yourself out. Don't go and get radiation poisoning. That is a slow, painful death where you shit out your insides and you start bleeding from every orifice and your skin falls off. Okay, it's not the way you want to go. All right. He's saying get vaporized. If you see the mushroom cloud, you were far enough away that you didn't get vaporized. If you could see the nuke, the vaporization thing already happened. If you could see a nuke, if you could see the fireball, if you could see the fucking flash, if you could see the thing go up and you're not currently on fire, you were far enough away that you were not killed by the initial vaporization. If you're vaporized, then you're already fucking vaporized. What, do you think the vaporization keeps happening like it's a fucking spirit or something?
Course of fucking 2 years. Your ears fucking falling off. Get yourself out of that Faslane nuclear base, because they'll probably target that. Get yourself along there. Along with the
okay, now if you go and snuggle up against a likely target, well then that's a different story. Then you'll definitely get wiped out, you know. Maybe you could even have a picnic, you know. Realizing that we're about to have a nuclear war, then just doing a picnic next to the silos is, I mean, it's not the worst idea I ever heard.
Nuclear protesters.
Me personally, I'm surviving that shit. I ain't going down right away with, you know, I am clinging to this planet as hard as I can. I am Posadist Mike. I will rebuild socialism from the ashes. I will do Star Trek World. At Star Trek World, they had a global thermonuclear war, by the way. Star Trek is Posadist. In order for Star Trek World to happen, they had a nuclear war first. They had a World War III nuclear war. So they built Star Trek World after the nuclear war happened. So I'm building Star Trek World. I don't give a fuck.
That's the best place to be, because you're going to get fucking dematerialized instantly. Anyway.
Let's just say, chat, that it's not great. Focus at bunker, exactly.
With quiet French assistance, construction began in 1958 at a facility in the Negev desert. Publicly, it was described as a textile plant. It wasn't. By the late 1960s, US intelligence had concluded that Israel had nuclear weapons. And some historians argue that during some wars, Israel had those weapons ready to use as a measure of last resort. Doha's gas lines rupture, fuel tanks ignite, industrial sites detonate. The inferno becomes self-sustaining. Technician Mordechai Vanunu leaked photographs confirming how advanced the program had become.
Vanunu duped Israel's vaunted security apparatus and smuggled a camera into the secret Dimona plant. His photographs exposed the world's greatest nuclear cover. What he showed was that Israel's nuclear arms program was far bigger and much more powerful than anyone had even dreamt possible.
Days later, he was abducted in Rome by the Mossad and imprisoned. The message was clear. The program was to remain in the shadows. To this day, Israel maintains a policy of deliberate ambiguity. It's never signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty and has never opened its facilities to international inspection. But the program remains the worst-kept secret in the world.
Why should the world tolerate you having nuclear weapons and not, say, Iran?
First, again, we never admitted to have such weapons. But the very comparison is, I must say, it's very insulting, and I tell you why.
Oh, it's insulting. See, they're subhuman Arabs and Persians, and we are the superior race. That's what they think. That's what the Israeli Zionist supremacist thinks.
We suffered one Holocaust. We listened to our neighbors.
Is it because of the Holocaust that you should be allowed to have nuclear weapons?
You know what? This interview was finished now.
Muscat's hospitals inside the blast zone no longer exist. Hospitals outside it are instantly overwhelmed. Amman's power grids fail. Water pumps stop. Communications go dark. Experts estimate that Israel has between 90 to 400 nuclear warheads.
The Americans dropped nukes on Japan to prove the Soviets they would drop it on them. The Americans will blast Tehran to prove they won't give up hegemony without destroying the world. Am I wrong, chat? I mean, here's what I think. I think that if Trump nuked Tehran, Asmon Gold would cheer it on. That's what I think. I think that conservatives in power would cheer it on. Now, I can tell you from me, I would consider that to be the moment where We have to start immediately destroying as many people that support this regime as possible. You know, because any use of a nuclear weapon would be so... I mean, basically anybody who supports the regime becomes legitimately dangerous to the entire human race. So we would need to launch an immediate rebellion against the society, like I mentioned, against this government. Like, you know, there's really nothing more to say. It would be a completely unprovoked nuclear strike on a civilian population. I mean, that would make every single person that supports Donald Trump an existential threat to humanity. And it's bloody and bad thing to contemplate, and I hope it doesn't happen.
But see, it's not just about the warheads. It's also about your ability to deliver them. First, Israeli fighter jets are widely believed capable of carrying nuclear gravity bombs. Second, ballistic missiles. The Jericho 3 is a long-range missile that can reach up to 6,500 kilometers. That's every country in the Middle East and beyond, all the way to Europe, Russia, China, and Africa. And finally, the scariest, submarines. Nuclear submarines are self-contained and can stay hidden underwater for months. They are extremely difficult to detect and nearly impossible to destroy before they launch. Because of that, they can move close to a coastline and fire only with minutes of warning. They also give Israel a second strike capability. Even if it's hit first, it can retaliate.
Does Israel have nuclear capabilities and nuclear weapons? Yes or no?
We've always said that we won't be the first to introduce it, so we haven't introduced it.
But that's not an answer to the question. Do you have them or do you not?
Of any country. It's as good an answer as you're going to get.
In Tel Aviv, survivors begin to wander in shock, burned, bleeding, blinded, searching for help that cannot come. So why would Israel bring about its own destruction? The answer is found in the Hebrew Bible, in the story of Samson. Samson was a man of extraordinary strength, captured by the Philistines. Blinded and surrounded, he stands between the pillars of a temple, his enemies gathered around him. Before he brings it down, he says, "Let me die with the Philistines." The pillars fall, the temple collapses, everyone inside is crushed. And that is the Samson option, the name given to Israel's nuclear war doctrine. If Israel faces total defeat, it will not go down alone. It will unleash Armageddon. The Samson option is a doctrine built on the final act. And this is not the only time Israel invokes stories of biblical destruction.
You must remember what Amalek has done to you, says our Holy Bible, and we do remember.
אנחנו קראנו בפרשת השבוע, זכור את אשר עשה לך עמלק. אנחנו זוכרים ואנחנו פועלים.
Amalek is the story of how the Jews were commanded by God to destroy the Amalekites completely. The order was to kill all men, women, children, infants, and their animals, leave no one behind. It is a call for genocide that was invoked in Gaza and now is being invoked for Iran. In Sana'a, the firestorm consumes oxygen, generating hurricane-force inward winds that feed the flames. In Khartoum, emergency response systems collapse. Roads are impassable. Coordination is impossible. Millions more are dead, and many are dying from burns, trauma, and radiation exposure. With 90 warheads, Israel is already capable of wiping entire cities off the map. With 400, the likelihood rises. Multi-country destruction, regional collapse, global knock-on effects through smoke, trade disruption, market shocks, and refugees.
Is in the greatest danger that we have been for years, and actually the entire region is in the greatest danger we have been for years. We could theoretically be just 24 hours away from a nuclear war, in which case Israel could defend itself with all the weapons it has, including nuclear capabilities.
Radiation sickness begins in those heavily exposed. nausea, vomiting, and weakness. Water is contaminated. Food supply chains are severed. Medical supplies are exhausted. Without power, refrigeration fails. Without water, dehydration spreads. Without sanitation, disease follows. Total collapse. And that's just the first 72 hours. But nuclear war in the Middle East won't stay contained there. Major powers are entangled in the region as we see now. Escalation and multiplying detonations is almost inevitable. The US and Russia alone have the weapons to wipe out 90% of humanity. Nuclear war would ignite massive firestorms, sending soot and smoke high into the atmosphere. That smoke could block sunlight for months, even years. Global temperatures would drop, growing seasons would shorten, and crop yields would collapse. The famine that follows could kill far beyond the blast zones themselves. The nuclear winter it causes would be planetary, and on the scale of hundreds of years, maybe even thousands. The planet might heal itself, but civilizations won't. It takes one decision. In less than 60 seconds, cities can vanish. In 72 hours, an entire region will collapse. This video is about Israel's nuclear program, but it's also about something bigger. I believe that nuclear weapons should not exist. Not in Washington, not in Moscow, not in Beijing, not in Tel Aviv, not anywhere. The idea that any state can hold...
I gotta be honest with you, chat. At this point, you know, in history, my general feeling is that I've kind of moved beyond this kind of conversation, and not because I don't think it's a worthy goal, but if you are Beijing, honestly, if you're any country, the idea that you shouldn't have nuclear weapons at this point is an untenable position. Libya gave up their nuclear program. Ukraine gave up their nuclear weapons, and the result was the destruction of those countries. If Libya had maintained a nuclear program and had gotten a nuclear weapon, the country would still be stable. If Ukraine had kept nuclear weapons, the country would not have been attacked. And so as much as I yearn for a day where we have nuclear disarmament, when the United States government is the way it is, it's not plausible. It's just not plausible.
Civilization and power, and call it deterrence, is a gamble with the future of humanity. And in the case of Israel, a gamble made more dangerous by its suicidal nuclear doctrine. Israel is a genocidal state, led by a prime minister that invokes biblical stories of destruction and wiping people off the map, and who is currently wanted by the International Criminal Court. In the last 2 years alone, Israel has attacked Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Qatar, and Tunisia. It is a rogue state that behaves with impunity, with a complete disregard for international law and proliferation treaties. And that is a grave threat to all of humanity, because nuclear war does not stay regional. If nuclear weapons are supposedly dangerous in Tehran, then they are also dangerous in Tel Aviv. If they are dangerous in Moscow, then they are also dangerous in Washington, D.C. The logic must be universal. Disarmament must be universal. As long as these weapons exist, humanity's existence is conditional. As you can imagine, doing this work takes time, resources, and editorial independence, and we're only able to do it thanks to our community. So if you believe in what we're doing and want to be a part of this, consider joining our...
So, like, you know, in general, my overall take is the reason why the Cold War never went hot is because the Soviet Union built nukes. It's because the Chinese built nukes, right? That's what made the Cold War cold. The threat of nuclear exchange. That is what maintained peace, because that's the only way the United States has ever been intimidated out of interfering with people. All right, chat. What else do we want to discuss today? Ground troops. The U.S. readying ground troops. It's very obvious that there's going to be boots on the ground, chat. There's going to be boots on the ground. Right now, oil prices have come off their highs. Meanwhile, Democrats are trying to demand that India not be allowed to buy oil from Russia. Congressional Democrats demand reversal of Russian oil sales into India as energy prices soar. Now, this means that Democrats want to kill Indians. That's literally what this means. This is what the Democrats are doing during the attack on Iran. Stop letting the Russians sell oil to India. Make Indian energy prices rise so Indians die. Ruben Gallego and Sam Liccardo demand that the oil administration reverse a move to allow the sale of sanctioned oil to India as the war in Iran rages. So in other words, as energy becomes scarcer, force the Indians to make prices go up even faster and higher. That shit crazy. Now, oil has completely given up most of the price increases on the day, chat. And this is off of news that all of the European countries are going to open up their oil reserves, their strategic oil reserves. Now, this is the largest oil supply disruption in world history. And so I think a lot of people, and this is what's really interesting about Trump in particular. What I find really interesting about Trump is I've never seen a market which is more connected to the sentiment toward Donald Trump. Like, they believe that Donald Trump is on their side, the trader side, and that he'll never let them go down too badly. And so they have this kind of like Trump put. Whenever some sort of disastrous policy or event takes place, the stock traders think like, oh, don't worry, Trump will print money and save us, or Trump will reverse before it gets too bad for the stock market. It is this like what people are calling Taco Trump, but honestly, it's the Trump put, which is a good thing for Trump. The market traders thinking he's Taco Trump is actually good for Trump. And the reason why is because they're not allowing markets to gyrate as much as they probably should be. They're assuming and they're pricing in the idea that things are going to even out, right? They're not really pricing in the worst oil disruption in history.
Talk about oil and the spike in oil prices. Joining us now is Kevin Book, Clearview Energy Partners Managing Director. Kevin, it's good to see you.
They're coping.
A couple of weeks ago, we were pretty well supplied, the world, was it not? Is that not the case anymore? And I guess I'm getting to the difference between spot and futures and whether there is a premium or a fear premium built into what could happen versus what's actually happening.
Good to see you, Joe. The difference, I think, is also maybe the one between stocks and flows. So right now, the flows are interrupted. That's obvious. The question is what's going on with stockpiles. We had an enormous build in 2025. But now we're drawing down stocks as production starts to shut in. Eventually that catches up. So when you hear talk, as Andrew mentioned, about a coordinated action, you may not be able to close that flowing supply gap right now with government strategic reserves. But what you can do is you can shore up those lost inventories. And one of the strongest statistical relationships in oil analysis is the inverse correlation between price and inventories.
Right. So do you have a better idea than we have how long this lasts and ultimately what the peak in oil is? And will we be at 85 in 2 weeks?
Well, it depends on what happens on the ground or really in the water. I guess that has to do with questions outside of what we cover directly, but let's ask, are we getting more assets moved to the region? Is either side planning to say, all right, we give up? It doesn't look like it right now that the latter is true, and the former looks like it might be true. So maybe we're going on longer. At some point, you have to ask, what are we going to get on the U.S. side, right? Markets price scarcity, democracies reward popularity, and scarcity isn't popular. So something's got to give. And also, there's a question of what it would mean to escort ships through the strait past anti-ship missiles. How much do we have in the way of interceptors? What does that look like in the end? If this goes on weeks, then I think we start to get to the point where supply balances demand on price. And until supply shows back up, price is going to destroy demand.
So we know Iraq, for example, oil production, a third of the normal rate. What does all this mean for our friends in Russia and China?
Well, it means that Russia's barrels, which previously were discounted because they were sanctions distressed, are now able to command much more of a premium than they would previously. It means that China, which was already buying barrels closer to full market price from some of its previous providers as the buyer of last resort for those providers, is going to have to pay more. But it also means that China, in 2022, Joe, we had a situation where former President Biden asked China to draw down their strategic reserves, and they didn't. This time around, they have an incentive maybe to do so.
Where's our SPR right now? And have we been trying to, has the Trump administration been trying to build it back up?
This may be one of the most catastrophic mispricings of risk that's come out of the U.S. Congress in a long time. At the start of the Trump administration, you may recall, in President Trump's second inaugural address, he talked about filling the SPR to the top. Energy Secretary Chris Wright said, let's get $20 billion and fill the SPR. It would have been a time-consuming process, but underway. Instead, Congress gave $171 million. So far, they've done 1 million barrels of fill. Again, you wouldn't have a full SPR right now. We're at about 415 million barrels. That is an extremely considerable resource. I don't want to diminish it, but the time to buy insurance is when you don't need it.
Hey, Kevin, let's think about this from an inflationary perspective. And if these price hikes last, I've seen lots of different rules of thumb. One I saw yesterday was that a 10% increase in Brent translates to about 2 to 3% increase in food prices. What other rules of thumb do you have, and how long do you have to see those price hikes before they actually start to kick into some other inflationary places, whether that's airline prices, prices at the pump, food, and the rest of it?
Well, so there's the economic question and the political one. The economic question requires a little bit of a duration, and a transient spike over sort of long-term averages shouldn't really change inflationary pictures very much. Political story actually might be quite different because people remember those price spikes a lot longer than maybe politicians might like. On the other hand, the other rule of thumb I think you hear a lot is a 10% increase in oil prices is 0.4 of a percentage point increase in inflation. And it's because what we're looking at right now, particularly these barrels, these medium sour barrels from the Gulf, the middle distillates, the things that move our freight, that move our planes, that make our economy go. Those barrels are the ones that we're looking at missing. We're looking at products rising, becoming expensive, and staying that way until those inventories.
Actually, this is a really subtle point that he's making that I want to underline just to explain it. Okay, the thing about the oil is that not all oils are created equal, right? Like, ironically, American oil, the so-called Texas crude, the light sweet crude, ironically, doesn't produce enough when you distill it. Like, crude, a barrel of oil is not equal to another barrel of oil. Every geologic region has slight variability in the types of oil that they produce. And the problem is that, as he's pointing out, American light sweet crude doesn't produce, when it's broken down in the refiner, it doesn't produce enough kerosene, which is what's used for jet fuel. Doesn't produce enough diesel. And so we are looking at a situation where there's going to be, the more that the Middle East crude is cut, the more we're going to have like, a glut of say like one section of the oil, right? And we're going to have a further shortage of other sections of the production from from crude. They need to have different types of crude in order to produce all the products that are demanded, because people demand products. They don't demand oil. Oil is simply the input. The output is what is consumed. That's the commodity.
Replenish. This is where that strategic action has some value, even if it can't close the flowing barrel gap. The idea to try to take the edge off prices further out the forward curve.
You're not obviously a military guy, Kevin, but would you, if a week from now you heard the Straits open for whatever reason, everything's been degraded, the ability to stop ships, whatever, would that be a surprise to you? Is that possible?
Well, I mean, we originally modeled a 1 week straight closure scenario when we were looking ahead at this for the last several years, and we're past that now. So, yeah, of course, it's possible. It was sort of our baseline expectation. We thought maybe mines would get laid down and then get cleaned up. We're not even looking at that right now, though. And the question is, what is stopping the ships? It's not just insurance. It's actual risk. It's assurance to the safety of the crews and physical cargoes. And it's not obvious, as long as the conflict persists, how that would change. Now, the conflict could end. There's a lot of mechanisms at work that could provide safety, more warships escorting tankers. But 1 week is starting to look a little optimistic right now.
So the report, the news is that oil is below $100 a barrel. It was $120 over the weekend. It's come down quite a bit since then. because there was a leak about how Israeli official was saying we might need to end this. There was also a statement that the European militaries want to escort tankers. Stockpile releases are going to happen. Oil prices fall below 100 per barrel on possible stockpile release to address supply disruption. Now, this doesn't fix the problem, right? This is a short-term solution so that the pain is delayed, right? They're saying like, hey, we've got a bunch of savings. We're going to expend all our savings so that you guys don't suffer any consequences for what the United States is doing. Well, eventually this runs out.
We're getting some news out of Washington. Let's get to our Eamon Jabbers with the very latest. Eamon.
Frank, that's right. I've just been on the phone with sources familiar with the G7 meeting this morning. That's been really the focus of attention in the oil markets today. And what these two sources tell me is that this meeting tomorrow with the energy ministers is going to be tomorrow in the morning. It's going to be a virtual meeting, not in person. And that is scheduled tomorrow morning, U.S. East Coast time. Sources also say that talks among the G7 are, quote, positive, unquote, in terms of the possibility of coordinated action in releasing reserve oil into the market. Any coordinated action on that would occur, of course, after that energy ministers meeting that's scheduled for tomorrow morning. The source is also confirming the U.S. stance on this, which is the U.S. believes that a joint release of 300 to 400 million barrels, representing 25 to 30% of the 1.2 billion total barrels in reserve, would be the appropriate amount. So the U.S. is asking here, or suggesting here, that a joint release among the G7 nations from their reserves of 300 to 400 million barrels, representing 25 to 30% of total reserves, would be the right move here. So a little bit of guidance heading into that.
So annually, daily, I think we consume, what is it? I want to say, I think it's like 70 or 80 million barrels of oil a day. How many barrels of oil per day are consumed worldwide? Worldwide. Jesus, I can type, I swear. Oh, it's 100 million. Okay, so I must be thinking of like, so he's basically saying, hey, release 4 days worth of oil. Now, 30% of the oil in the world comes from the Middle East. So let's assume 30% has been disrupted. So what is 30% of 100? That's 30 million barrels of oil a day. So this is basically saying give, what is that? 10 days of oil production reserve, release 10 days of oil production from the Middle East, 20 days from oil production from the Middle East, 12 days. Yeah, it's 10 to 12 days. Thank you. So that's basically, that's what they're saying. And obviously, if everything is resumed, everything goes back to normal, then, you know, oil prices of $95 is probably justified, right? Because obviously over the long run, oil will eventually come back online, and that's fine. But if it lasts more than another week, that's a problem.
Meeting tomorrow. I know a lot of folks were watching that G7 meeting this morning and may be surprised that they didn't move jointly on releasing reserve oil. Well, I think the expectation is that this meeting tomorrow among the energy ministers will be the key decision point for that, and we'll see what happens. Frank.
All right, chat.
Don't look now, oil.
It's been a very, very depressing day, but I want to show you something. Mexico has a center-left government, and that government is led by a woman named Claudia Sheinbaum. And this weekend, she ordered the restructuring of 5 million predatory mortgage loans, saving 5 million Mexican families from losing their homes.
¿Cuánto pediste prestado para
How much
una
did you borrow
vivienda?
for a home?
Me dijo
She told me
600,000 pesos.
600,000 pesos.
¿Cuánto?
How much do you owe? 800,000 pesos. How much have you paid? More than 1 million pesos. Well, who understands that? Nobody. It is understood that there is interest every year, but how is it possible to pay for the house twice and one has not yet finished paying for it, but also she owes more than she borrowed? Because the credits were designed as a business for a few. They were not designed as a right of the people of Mexico to have housing. When we entered, I said, Let's see how the FOTSI credits are doing. How is the Infonavit credits are doing? And the vast majority of the credits were unpayable. Why? Out of sheer injustice. Not because they didn't work to pay them. No, the problem was how the credits were designed to benefit those who made the houses, not those who have a right to housing. And then we said, how many credits are like this? 400,000 unjust, unpayable credits. In the Infonavit, you know how many more there were? Close to 5 million. Imagine the families. That one is almost retiring and has not been able to pay for the house, and then started paying 15 years, 20 years ago. And with Jesus in the mouth, worried about what am I going to leave to my children? Pure debt. So we said, that's over. We are going to deduct and refinance all credits of more than 5 million families in this country. Why? Because it was unfair, because it would never be possible to pay for it. So there are already 5 million families that are benefiting. In some cases, they have already paid the entire loan. And others, from $1 million to 2 billion pesos, now they owe only 50,000. And so little by little, we are removing all unpayable debts. We also said, and now to whom are we going to give the deed? So let's try to women. We obviously do not exclude men, but let's give women the right to have one's own home. So basically what she's saying is they have done what's known as a cram down in finance talk. A cram down is when the government comes to a bank and says, hey, this loan is unfair. So we are readjusting the principal. And it's called a cram down because the bankers feel like they are being fed the changes to the loan. That's why it's known as the cram down, because the government is smashing the face of the banker and they don't like it. So what she's describing is a cram down refinance where if people have paid more than the principal balance plus some percentage of profit that has been calculated as fair, they revalue the mortgage to a different price. And for many people, they go from owing hundreds of thousands of pesos to zero. That's what she describes. So 5 million loans were revalued, with some people getting a zero balance. And then when they get the zero balance, they are also granted the deed to the property. So the deed to the property is now free of any encumbrances from the bank. This is something that Barack Obama was told to do but did not do, which led to more than 9 million American families losing their homes during the Great Recession. She just made 5 million Mexican families secure in their homes. She did it like that. Did the world fall apart? Did the Mexican economy crumble? Did the sun fall out of the sky? No. She saw that these mortgages were unfair. She fixed them. Bingo, bang, go, boom. Millions of families were significantly improved in their financial standing. They're now secure. Bam. Done. Done. One day. Boom. She did it. It's over. 5 million people's lives, 5 million families, lives fundamentally transformed from one of a position of debt to financial security overnight. That's why we seize state power. That's why we want state power. Not to denigrate our anarchist friends in the chat, not to denigrate your mutual aid and your break light clinics and your community gardens and all that great stuff, which is a lot of fun and I endorse wholeheartedly. 5 million families turned around overnight. You can't do that at a farmer's market. You can't. And so that's why we see state power. That's why it's important. All right, chat. I think I'm going to call it there. And by the way, nothing she did is like insane communism here. This is what the center left is, actually. If you want to know what a center left government looks like, that's the real center left. Center left, maybe even left. Okay. But she hasn't fundamentally restructured private property relations and yada. She just re-regulated a specific mortgage. That is a left-wing, center-left alliance policy. That's something that if you're on the center left, you could see it's almost like it's a wonk policy, to be honest. This is what a real center-left policy looks like. We have not had a center-left policy in my lifetime in the United States of America. Not one. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for all of your support. I hope you guys are doing well. Make sure that you go check out If you missed the Oliver Larkin interview I did last week, make sure you go check that out. Go check out the YouTube. Make sure if you see any of my videos recommended in YouTube, make sure you give it a click. I'm going to send you guys over to Vio, who is a Persian, an Iranian American who doesn't support the war. Is not a psychotic Shahist freak. So if you want to support Iranian diasporoids who don't support the war, then go support Vio. All right, everybody, stay safe. Solidarity forever. Thank you guys, gals, non-binary pals, for all your support. It really does mean a lot. I will see you all tomorrow. Remember, it's socialism or it's barbarism. Free Palestine. No war for oil. And let's fucking win. All right, everybody. I'll see you soon. Peace out.